Shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
사람들에게는 만사의 형통할 수 있는
And the kingdom of God and his citizens are kings and queens that stand with the king of kings and his kingship, that rule with a rod of iron in peace, justice, and mercy. Citizens are ours.
Now, the Rod of Iron Ministries, which is another offshoot of this church.
This is a satanic antichrist devil. These are not real Christians.
This is a cult.
We're very much opposed to it.
We don't worship government, we worship God.
How many of you feel safer knowing that your teacher has a gun? All of you.
We need to turn back to God.
Not to be dependent on the government.
Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown, hold fast to what God has. Good morning and welcome to the King's Report, Monday, March 12th, 2018, 9th year of Cheongi, first month, 25th day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, second king of Cheongi. Welcome this morning. Let's go first to our AccuWeather forecast with Tim, the agent elder. Tim.
Good morning. It's 23 degrees, a beautiful, starry pre-dawn morning at the palace. Really a lot of stars you can see in the sky. Mainly clear today. Getting up to 39 degrees, except it's going to start snowing.
Going to start snowing again.
It'll start snowing. We have a winter weather advisory going into effect at 6 p.m. tonight, this evening.
One, huh?
Yes, a winter weather advisory lasting from 6 p.m. this evening until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And we're expecting 1 to 3 inches of snow with about a 40% chance that it'll be more than 3 inches. The possibility of snow is 0 during the morning, but then starts to climb during the early afternoon and gets to about 44-45% at 6 p.m. So sometime around evening, dinner time, you may look out and you may find that it is snowing.
So that's amazing. We are really, it's interesting, like till the end of winter, we're getting slammed at the end of winter.
Yes. Right up until the blessing, everything was fine, then...
Hey, it's a new beginning.
Yes, it is.
That's what Father said the snow is, a new beginnings.
Lots of new beginnings, yes.
The whole world's being reset.
Yes, yes.
Oh, man. Crazy.
So that's the weather for today.
Oh my gosh, that's really shocking, isn't it? Now it's officially daylight savings.
Yes.
Okay, does that mean it's officially spring?
No.
Okay.
Officially spring. Depends. I think. Officially spring, of course. The spring equinox is still about 10 days away. I think that's
so
one.
We're close. I mean, we're pretty close to the official start of spring. But boy, oh boy, we just keep getting snow. Snow. Just keep getting snow. All right, folks. Well, let's go to our headline news today. And we are at DrudgeReport.com. Let's cover DrudgeReport.com. Musk on Mars spaceship test next year. Let's go to Tim as we cover DrudgeReport.com.
Okay. Do you want to go into that article?
No. Let's just go over the headline.
Okay. Trump heads to California. He's going to California tomorrow.
Look at that.
Yes.
Was in Pennsylvania a couple
on
days
Saturday, he was in Pennsylvania, yes, trying to help that guy who was running for the Congress in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, in the 18th, I think it is, 18th district. And he was saying that but he was also, meeting with the steel workers because Pennsylvania is a big steel state. And then, of course, that congressional district is in the Pittsburgh area, between the suburbs of Pittsburgh and West Virginia. There's a lot of steel workers down there. So he got a very good reception there. Maybe, I don't know if that'll be the case in California or not. Hope he gets a good reception in California as well. He does have a fundraiser scheduled there in I think it is in Hollywood, and he'll also be inspecting prototypes for the wall. And the LAPD says they're prepared for anything.
Yeah, they better be prepared because that is definitely a lunatic, psychopathic place. I mean, California has the highest poverty rate in the entire America.
Yes, that's true.
The highest poverty rate. That's what liberalism gives you.
Yes.
It gives you poverty, social breakdown, and they're allowing HIV into the blood supply. I mean, that is the definition of a hellhole.
But
that's what it's becoming.
But Senator Kamala Harris says that California is the future. She may be right. I mean, that may be the bad news.
Lord mercy. If up to these socialists, absolutely, that's what they want. My gosh. Lunatics.
President slams New York Times Maggie Haberman as a Hillary flunky. Philip Raines, he may win again in 2020. Jimmy Carter praises the North Korea meet. Musk on Mars spaceship test next year. I guess people have, I don't know, people have money. They got to spend it someplace, I guess. Might as well spend it on Mars. Multiple fatalities after helicopter crashes into New York City East River. Very sad incident last night where 5 people died in a helicopter crash. The pilot survived. Drones are ready to deliver. Footage of mysterious object above the ocean stuns the military. Free-falling 8.5-ton space station to crash into Michigan. That's, I think, a Chinese space station. Xi forever. Yes, China has abolished the term limits on the presidency, and so Xi Jinping can remain forever if he wants. I'm sure he does. China one-man rule joins global autocrat club. Hong Kong pro-democracy movement loses ground. Yeah, they were supposed to be able to keep their democracy for 50 years, but it's 21 years, I guess, is close enough to 50. Mother's Day card goes gender neutral. Yes, men can be mothers too, apparently.
That is so ridiculous. Oh, my God.
Yes, a nun battling Katy Perry collapses, dies in court. Katy Perry apparently wants to take over a convent, and the nun was trying to stop that, and they were in court, and the nun collapsed and died.
She wants to take their Luciferian rituals there.
Yeah. Book details Al Gore's quest to become world's first carbon billionaire.
Oh, what a sick, immoral Satan. Oh, my gosh. Sick of these leftist, socialist commies.
Berners-Lee regulate to big tech. Heart attacks spark Iranian cyber threat concerns. Hack attacks spark Iranian cyber threat concerns. Russian spy attack nerve agent found at UK city spots. Hundreds urged to wash clothes. Now, this has been going on in the UK. We covered that a little bit on Saturday, where a man and his daughter are in very serious condition after being attacked apparently by nerve gas, and the UK government believes it's Russian. The man was a double agent, and he and his daughter were in a park, and they were attacked with nerve gas, apparently. Spielberg Ready Player One, world premiere at SXSW. Gay conversion therapist had sex with male patients to cure them. Marine Le Pen urges makeover as support for her National Front shrivels, and Steve Bannon is there trying to help her. Superstar Ivanka settles into DC role. AAA spring gas prices could approach tipping point for drivers. Scott Walker issues wake-up call to Republicans. Danger coming. And the new tyrant of Cuba, taking over after the Castros. Leaked video shows his hardline views. Tillerson was not feeling well, cancels activities in Kenya. Not told about meeting with Kim until after the announcement. Now, President Trump, I think, basically, was flying solo on that one. In fact, he prefers that. He wants to rely less on his staff. Trump lawyers want to stop 60 Minutes from airing Stormy Daniels' interview. Bono anti-poverty campaign faces claims of harassment. People say they were treated worse than dogs. Missouri, a destination wedding spot for 15-year-olds. Apparently, Missouri has the, in terms of child marriages, Missouri has the most lax or most liberal laws. Heart attack sufferers more likely to survive if doctor is away.
So they're saying that in Missouri, you can get married at 15 years old?
I think it's even less than that. We can go into this, but yeah, child marriages are allowed in Missouri more than in other states.
Oh my Lord!
In 2014, this girl was 15 and pregnant with a child of her 21-year-old boyfriend.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. So yes, I'm not sure what the actual age is. It may be even younger than that. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that. White-collar workers, millennials inject new life into unions. Restaurant charging white customers more. Boarding mom charged with sex assaults on bedridden 16-year-old male exchange student.
Oh my gosh.
Rise of violent Buddhist rhetoric defies stereotypes. Buddhists have been violent in the past.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In Japan, they used to have their own army.
Oh yeah.
In the warring period in the 16th century.
Well, even in the Buddhist Zen monks in the World War II, they would get the kamikaze fighters would train with Buddhist monks to meditate, so they could focus with the one mind when they're bombing themselves. So that's even in the modern age. That's highly documented.
Lightning strike at church leaves 16 dead. Elizabeth Warren refuses DNA test to prove Native American heritage. She also says she's not going to run in 2020.
Oh, that's good.
Judge
we don't want
doesn't
more.
seem to mention that in the headline, but Mary Madeline breaks silence. Mary Madeline used to be on the TV quite a lot on Fox, especially. She's a Republican strategist and election consultant, but now she says Trump, great president, job performance stunning. Alaska's population declines for first time in decades. They pay you to live in Alaska.
Hey, I may think about it.
Cruz revealed gory fantasies in his therapist years before the Parkland massacre.
If you love the natural world, there's nothing greater than Alaska. My goodness, in the United States, it's just so beautiful. It's outstandingly beautiful. a little cold, but it's outstanding.
I was there in August, and it was cool enough already. Justice Cruz revealed gory fantasies to a therapist years before the Parkland massacre. Of course, that's the NRA's fault still. Justice moves on rapid-fire bump stocks. Schools brace for massive student walkouts over gun violence.
Yeah, of course students walk out and they're going homeschooling because they're freaking getting shot up like sitting ducks. Give me a break. Let the teachers carry. Hey,
Feds say that the arrested CEO sold 20,000 encrypted phones to drug cartels. And crypto gold rush as mines pop up across the Mountain West. Scientology to launch its own TV network. To combat iguana problem, Florida researchers bash in reptiles' heads. Actors demand on-set observers to oversee sex scenes for films, shows, ads. Oregon couple's final days captured an intimate aid in dying video. Putin's Russia, resurgent superpower. Young people are our biggest fans. And test fires hypersonic missile. He believes he has a missile that cannot be defended against.
The Russian young people are getting excited about Russia's supremacy.
Yes.
They're getting excited. And Putin is he's definitely a nationalist. Mm-hmm. He's definitely increasing the status of Russia for Russians in there. Again, I mean, he's testing these hypersonic missiles now. He's really starting to flex some muscles in front of Trump. So, you know, it's getting intense. It's getting intense. It's always crazy. You know, it's like, it really is true. You know, the top level of foreign policy and, quote, diplomacy, it's all about violence. It's all about violence. It's about, that's all it is. I mean, it's just signs of violence and mutual extinction, guaranteed mutual extinction. That's the deterrent for diplomacy. Go ahead.
Yes, I was just reading about this article on child marriage in Missouri. There is no minimum requirement, no minimum age requirement in Missouri.
What?
And so what happens is that apparently the problem now is that children are marrying their rapists.
Oh my gosh! There's no age restriction on marriage in Missouri.
Although with 14 or younger, a judge must approve. So a judge, as long as the judge approves it, there's no minimum requirement. As
long as a judge approves it?
Right.
So probably the Islamists are going down who want to marry 5-year-old girls.
If I were an Islamist, I would go there, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking insane. Golly, I never knew Missouri was like that. They're freaking smoking weed down there. Wow, talk about, you know, leaving the kids vulnerable there. My gosh.
Yes, yes.
That is ridiculous.
So people are traveling from Kansas, Colorado, Illinois, Nebraska, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee to get married there at 15. Because at 15, you don't need the judge's approval.
Well, that's the same in France and also Germany now. France also lowered their sex age limit to 15 years old.
This age of
what
consent,
the hell you know at 15
consent,
years
yes.
old? You're like cracked out on dumbness at 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? What the hell you know at 15 years old? I mean, my goodness, you know how many kids can be bamboozled at 15 years old? Oh my gosh, give me a break. That is absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, let's go to some Rod of Iron news, folks. We're going to GOA. GOA calls for a debate with anti-gun Colonel Peters. You can see some of these military colonels and higher-uppers are anti-gun. They're because why? They're commie military leaders. Look, not all military leaders are good. Every communist regime has tons of military leaders. they're not for gun control. They are for gun centralization. They're for government gun control. Where the government gets government gun rights, okay? They're not for human gun rights or citizen gun rights. They're for government gun rights. That's really what the commies are. Commies have very hardcore military leaders. And that's what Obama has put into the military. Look at this. In the U.S. military now, we have these kind of traitorous commie-like leaders. Colonel Ralph Peters, GOA is calling for a debate with him. Colonel Peters wrote an article for Anti-Gun New York Post last week, and then appeared on Fox News where he spewed no fewer than 10 outrageous lies or contradictions about the Second Amendment. It's a good thing Colonel Peters is no longer running our military. Oh my gosh, the guy was running our military. Jeez, said GOA Executive Director Eric Pratt. His understanding of firearms and the Constitution is woefully ill-informed. Tech team, cue that interview with Colonel Ralph Peters on Fox News. Let's hear what this bozo has to say. For starters, Colonel Peters refers to firearms like the AR-15 as assault weapons, a term that the New York Times admitted was a term made up by Democrats in the early 1990s to demonize the whole class of firearms. Perhaps this Army colonel sat behind a desk and didn't get much range time, Pratt said. But real assault rifles have a selector switch so the gun can fire on automatic mode. None of the guns Peters is trying to ban can fire as a machine gun. Perhaps unknowingly, Colonel Peters also joined Joe Biden in telling women that they should buy a shotgun rather than AR-15. That's ridiculous. That's the type of pompous arrogance that drives people crazy, Pratt said. It's a thinking that says, I know better than you what's good for you. Colonel Peters states in his article that the Florida shooter and recent killers could not have killed as many people as they did were it not for the weapons they used. But I guess Colonel Peters has forgotten about the recent truck attack in France, which killed 86 people, or the use of box cutters on 911 to kill more than 3,000 people. And perhaps he's unaware that knives were used to massacre 50 people in a Chinese coal mine. Killers will use whatever they can get their hands on, Pratt said. Colonel Peters also naively said that firearms like the AR-15 are the criminal's weapon of choice. But a quick look at FBI statistics shows that knives, hammers, or hands kill far more than rifles of all types, of which the AR-15 is just a subset. And when it comes to guns, handguns are truly the criminal's weapons of choice, as they're used 25 times more often than rifles. Perhaps Colonel Peters' most egregious misstatement was his assertion that the U.S. should ban any semi-automatic that can easily be converted to a fully automatic firearm. Does he realize what he's advocating, Pratt asked? That means he would ban virtually every single semi-automatic handgun and rifle known to man. Pratt called on Fox News to bring on a GOA spokesman to correct Colonel Peters' misstatements. Cue that video. Let's play this video of the stupid Colonel Peters, you pathetic idiot. Treasonous traitor.
Been walking a bit of a tightrope on gun control.
Colonel. Let's name a cereal after him.
There's nobody that loves the Second Amendment more than I do, and there's nobody that respects the NRA. They're friends of mine. They backed us all. They're great people. They're patriots. But they're great people. But we really do have to strengthen up, really strengthen up background checks.
I want to bring into this debate Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, who served in the Army, a decorated soldier himself, but he drew the line in an editorial that is getting worldwide attention about these type of weapons that have been used in a lot of these attacks, including the one in Florida, on automatic weapons. The colonel said, as I write these lines, remember that the power musket behind me and the Colt on my desk, talking about a long family history. But I believe on moral grounds and constitutional grounds, no private citizen should own automatic weapons. Lieutenant Colonel joins
automatic weapons?
Ralph,
they don't, you dumbass
trade. If you really want to use these weapons,
freaking idiot.
You conclude by saying just join the Marines, they'll pay you to do it.
Yeah, or the U.S. Army.
Explain.
And well, first of all, I got to say, I don't consider myself a decorated soldier. My decorations are on a Christmas tree. But I did serve, and I served proudly, and I know what these weapons can do. And Neil, I support the Second Amendment. I do not support the cherry picking of it that we're seeing right now. We can talk about that if you wish. But the bottom line is this. I'm a long time, I'm a gun owner. I know guns. My family's a gun family, going way back. But these weapons, AR-15 and all, and similar weapons, are not for sporting purposes. You don't take them hunting because they tear they're meant to tear bodies apart. They tear up the meat. They're lousy for target shooting. They're not even good.
Lousy for target shooting?
In the middle of the night against an intruder. For that, you want a pump-action shotgun. that will definitely.
Oh my gosh!
Burglar.
That's if you're in a 100 square foot little communist apartment.
Weapons is to kill and maim human beings. That's it. That is what the M16 series rifles were designed for our military. And they certainly kill, but beyond that, when a round from an AR-15 hits you, it can go in your hip and it's spinning and it can come out your shoulder. It's meant to just tear the body apart so that the wounded person can't get up and fight again. And so, to me, having those weapons in civilian hands is absolute madness. And by the way, those 4 deputies...
Because you're a freaking control-freak commie.
They're outside with handguns. And they're
Come on, GOA, debate this bozo and destroy him. He's so arrogant to say that civilians can't be able to defend themselves. What a total, evil, wicked, anti-American piece of trash.
Without a bump stock,
trash bag.
Modifications,
if he represents the military, this country is over. And of course, he doesn't represent the military because most military men and women agree that the AR-15 is the best firearm, and it's the number one. It's the number one firearm sold in America, and number one firearm for women for home defense and property defense. You stupid little commie freaking colonel. Pathetic idiot.
It's a brown bess musket. A trained soldier could fire 3 rounds a minute with a range of 50 to 100 yards. The AR-15 has a range of 600 yards, 45 rounds a minute. You put a bump stock on it, it's several hundred rounds a minute. Why on earth should we have weapons that kill children? They're used. The AR-15 is used again and again. It's the weapon of choice.
But a lot of people have AR-15s.
That's bull crap.
Use them on kids or on individuals.
And if little totalitarians like you get control of the government, that's why the civilians need the AR-15 for government tyranny, to fight government tyranny with little potheads like you sitting on top.
That we have to get to that level.
You pathetic idiot. You're pathetic, you piece of trash.
AR-15s that we don't want.
You're a freaking redcoat in the military. Thank God you're retired. And I can't believe you had authority over these American forces, you freaking redcoat.
Exactly who can use these weapons, who's sane.
Second Amendment is not for sporting purposes or for hunting. It's to fight a tyrannical government like our founding fathers were alpha Christians who fought the freaking redcoat British tyrannical governments. And the purpose of it, Jefferson said every day, Jefferson said every 20 to 30 years, revolts have to happen against the American federal government, or not American government, for them to remember. I mean, he said that. He said every 20 to 30 years, revolutions should happen against the government.
That doesn't matter. Well, you can't cherry pick.
Idiot traitor of a colonel. He doesn't represent the majority of military and law enforcement. They overwhelmingly support the Second Amendment and overwhelmingly support AR-15s. It has law-abiding citizens because they know the Second Amendment is not for hunting or for fishing or for whatever shooting sports. It's to defend this civilization from tyrannical, overgrown, cancerous government, which of course we had under Obama and Hillary Clinton, already had the pedal on the metal to genocide the freaking gun owner population. She was going to genocide the government population like they're doing in South Africa. They're actually genociding the white population there. But Hillary was going to go after the gun owners.
Much more stringent background checks.
Look at this idiot.
It makes me sick. And that sort of thing has to be banned. But I think we need to stop politicizing this and look at the victims. The victims. You're
politicizing this, you piece of trash. Look at the victims. Yeah, they sat there while the cops didn't do anything about it, and they sat there getting their heads blown off while the teachers could not shoot back. But Israel armed all their teachers, and they don't got no school shootings left. They don't got any school shootings. Thailand armed the teachers, and now they don't got no school shootings. Colorado armed their teachers, and now they don't got no school shootings. Utah armed their teachers, and now they don't got no school shootings. There is a proven track record to stop these criminals who get attracted and lust for gun-free zones, and that is to make them hard targets and make the teachers be armed who are CCW carriers and who are trained and who know how to use a gun, and to shoot back and put down those crazy lunatics. if they try to do anything about it. There's no coincidence that 98.4% of all mass shootings since 1950 are on gun-free zones. None of these lunatics are shooting cop stations because everybody's armed there. None of them are shooting military stations. The Fort Hood shooter, guess what? Gun-free zone on the military base. You had to be gun-free. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. You would never imagine that. But that's what the Fort Hood shooter was doing. It was a freaking gun-free military base, which is it's ridiculous. Give me a break. GOA needs to debate this bozo and just smash and tear this idiot apart in terms of a debate, because this guy is an anti-American, he's an anti-citizen, anti-Second Amendment, anti-constitutional little piece of trash. And I don't care if he's serving in the military. He is an enemy of the nation. If he believes in things like that, he's a commie comrade. You can be in the military and still be a commie. You are an enemy of these United States then. Wow, incredible. He needs to be completely exposed, boycotted. What a piece of trash. Can you believe this guy was running our military? Oh my gosh, this is what Obama was doing, bringing these commie military leaders in there so he could centralize power and use these kind of baskets to wipe out the gun owners and to go after them as domestic terrorists, because under their reign, the FBI designated even evangelical Christians as domestic terrorists. Do you understand? I mean, think about how absurd that is. Golly, these people are totally sick. They're completely twisted. They're filled with the spirit of Satan. Look at him. This guy has his soul sucked out of him. He looks like some kind of, Mr. Grinch. And what is that little thing in The Simpsons? That evil, rich, businessman. What is that? What's that guy's name? Get a picture of The Simpsons, the evil guy on Simpsons. Type in evil man Simpsons. It's that business guy. He's a conglomerate banker or something. He's like the skinny. There he is. Look at him. Look at that. That looks like Colonel, what the heck is his name? Peters. That's him right there. That's Colonel Peters. Give me a freaking break. We take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Oh my goodness. Get my blood pressure up in the freaking morning like this.
사람들에게는 만사의 흉통할 수 있는
And the kingdom of God and his citizens are kings and queens that stand with the king of kings and his kingship, that rule with a rod of iron in peace, justice, and mercy. Citizens are ours.
Now the Rod of Iron Ministries, which is another offshoot of this church.
This is a satanic antichrist devil. These are not real Christians.
This is a cult.
We're very much opposed to it.
We don't worship government, we worship God.
How many of you feel safer knowing that your teacher has a gun? All of you.
We need to turn back to God.
Not to be dependent on the government.
Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown, hold fast what God has.
Here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
사람들에게는 만사의 형통할 수 있는
And the kingdom of God and his citizens are kings and queens that stand with the king of kings and his kingship, that rule with the rod of iron in peace, justice, and mercy. Citizens are ours.
Now the Rod of Iron Ministries, which is another offshoot of this church.
This is a satanic antichrist devil. These are not real Christians.
Good values. This is a cult.
We're very much opposed to it.
We don't worship government. We worship God.
How many of you feel safer knowing that your teacher has a gun? All of you.
We need to turn back to God.
Not to be dependent on the government.
Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown, hold fast to what God has. And we are back. Welcome back. Monday, March 12th, 2018. Second King reporting live from the Cheongguk Palace Studios. To all the kings and queens of the kingdom of God. Good morning, folks. It's 5:36 a.m. on this beautiful wintry day. As you see, it's a beautiful starry night and starry morning. But it's so refreshing outside. I was just out there during the break with the doggies. Get them to do their bathroom break, and it's like the snow and the earth that's still moist from the snow. It has this incredible smell, this fragrance. It reminded me of the mountains of Korea, South Korea. For some reason, the high mountains. Snow-capped, and there's distinct smell in the snow with pine trees and all this kind of thing. There's this distinct kind of smell. I can't even describe it, and it just immediately reminded me of Hanamdo, actually, in South Korea, even though that's a very smoggy place. It's like wow. I mean, it's so incredibly beautiful. I used to go out in the mornings and try to sneak out of Hanamdong and East Garden and test the security guys there. they had different laser alarms. So I would try to get out there and try to set them off and see how fast they would respond and stuff like that. I did that both in EG and in Hannam-dong, but I used to in EG, because it's a bigger property, 19 acres. So I would set different alarms off, and then because I knew where all the cameras were, but I would set alarms off, and then I hide in the trees. I climb up the trees with rubber shooting cans. in ninja, in black clothes, right? In the middle of night. Golly. Oh, those poor guys thought I'm nuts. I climb up in the trees, okay, with rubber shooting cans. And I would toss rubber shooting cans at the security guards. Oh man, I kept them young. I think I kept them young. You know, it was not for harm; it was for testing them. But oh my goodness! All right, folks, let's get back to this. In other Rod of Iron news, Trump floats new gun measures as gun owners talk betrayal. Written by the AP here, Gun Owners America issued an alert earlier this past week, urging its 1.5 million members to call the White House and tell Trump to oppose all gun control, which I did. I hope everybody else did as well. You have to be active, folks. This is not the kingdom yet where these rights are preserved. These rights are constantly under direct threat by leftist communists in America. Now, they like to call themselves Democrats, just like North Korea likes to call themselves the Democratic Republic of North Korea. Or the Republic of Korea, right? The
Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Yeah. And so this idiot on the freaking Irish radio, right? He was saying, "Oh, name one socialist country in Europe, right?" And I said, "France is socialist country." That's not right. It's centrist. The prime minister would refer to it as centrist. I said, "I don't care what the politician refers to it as." Okay. I mean, these guys are just so ridiculous. That's like saying, oh, because Kim Jong-un calls his country the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that it is a democracy. Give me a freaking break. We don't care what the stupid politicians call their freaking nation. We see the nation. We see how it controls the means of production. We see how, by force, by the way, by force, by centralizing all guns to itself. It controls the means of production. Socialism just being another lesser degree of communism, controlling the means of production. Taxation, stealing, you name it, by the tip of a gun. And yes, it has no legitimacy to say that Macron calls his nation a centrist nation, so thus we should believe that it's a centrist nation, because he's trying to obfuscate and confuse you because it's a freaking socialist nation. That's what it is. What a pathetic, stupid argument. I listened back on that talk show debate that I had. And the Irish guy, when I asked him, what is socialism in your view? I mean, he answered this stupid, he was speaking out his ashtray. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He thought, social redistribution, and then he started talking about something completely, the guy was just trying to speak fast to confuse dumb listeners, if they're dumb, if they're ignorant listeners, just to pretend that he's know what he's talking about. I mean, the guy is just, but again, that's what the left does. And then, telling me that the prime minister, I don't think the prime minister of France would consider his nation a socialist nation. That's as legitimate as, Maduro saying that he has a democracy down there in Venezuela. I mean, give me a freaking break. Commies always say they have democracies and they're republic and they're for the people. They literally name their nations Democratic Republic, People's Republic of Congo, or whatever it is, or Venezuela, whatever. They literally name them that way to confuse dumb people. And I guess the listeners of that radio station are so dumb that they fall for stupid tricks like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absurd, absurd, absurd. When President Donald Trump raised the idea of banning bump stocks and curbing your young people's access to guns, gun owners and advocates who helped this political rise about disloyalty and desertion. Gun owners and advocates spoke about, I guess this picture is blocking some of this, spoke or raised their voice because they were the ones who helped them with this political rise and they start talking about, hey, this is disloyal and this is desertion. Trump's flirtation with modest gun control measures drew swift condemnation from gun groups, hunters, and sportsmen who banked on the president to be a stalwart opponent to any new restrictions, which he promised in the campaign trail. If he goes against that, he will feel the wrath of the gun owners in the sense that they're not going to vote for him. They're not going to support him. They are not going to support him. And guess what's going to happen? If he does that, he's going to lose it for himself, and he's going to get a freaking Democrat communist elected. So Trump really has to be careful about how he deals with the Second Amendment, because this is not, I mean, the Constitution says, shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Not maybe be infringed, not once in a while be, shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, not for sporting, not for hunting, shall not be infringed. And that's why it's important for a citizenry to have guns, in the words of Colonel Peters, that tear people up, because it is that fear of mutual destruction that keeps tyrannical governments at bay, just like it does in foreign diplomacy and foreign policy. And that's why a citizenry needs to have weapons that can tear people up. Because if the government gets crazy and freaking tyrannical and sends people to kill you, you have to be able to have the force and the threat of tearing those people up to have them back off. This is common sense in diplomacy. It's common sense in foreign policy. But, of course, they don't want you to understand that this is always about a negotiation of the use of force. Citizens and governments, always about negotiations between the use of force. And you can see this kind of traitorous, anti-human rights, total treasonous colonels like this idiot Peters, who is trying to strip you of your fundamental human rights to defend yourself from the most dangerous cabal and mafia cartel in the world, which is government by definition. Democide governments murdered over 220 million people in the last 100 years. Not even including the wars, folks. Not even including the wars. The world wars. Nope. Vietnam. Nope. Korean War. Nope. No wars are included in that. 220 million people massacred and genocided by governments. By governments. And governments are all the same. They're just a monopolization and centralization of guns, of force. That's why evil government employees like Colonel Peters doesn't want you to have a gun, because he knows that if the citizens have guns, they cannot control and rule over as the elite. They know there is mutual guaranteed destruction and that the citizenry will win because we highly outnumber the government troops and government employees. Not only that, we also know the land, the topography of the places we live at better than anybody else. Not only that, most gun owners also know how to hunt and skin a buck and kill. So they know that. They know that in the end, to get communism, socialism to be implemented in America and have us be submitted to the whims of George Soros and the Bilderberg banking cartel elites, allied with China and radical Islam and the Vatican, to kill American sovereignty, to kill America and mount its head on the wall, to laugh and boast that they killed the largest, most dangerous trophy. That's what they want. That they finally disarm those gun-grabbing, what do they call it, bitter clingers. These people are the domestic terrorists. These people are the ones who want to disarm grandpa and grandma. These people are the ones who don't want you to be able to defend your family. and your civilization and your town and neighborhoods and your nation from tyrants like them. Wow. The fact that Obama was promoting these kind of communist military personnel into his leadership that are supporting banning semi-automatic guns, that means banning everything. Almost every modern pistol is a semi-automatic pistol. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Phew. Man, that's how dangerous this type of traitorous military personnel was becoming under Obama. Because he was purging the military of actual patriots who want the citizenry and who believe in the Founding Fathers and believe in the equalization of force by the citizenry shall not be infringed. Wow. Trump's flirtation with modest gun control measure drew swift condemnation from gun groups, and he should have. I made my phone call in. Hope all of you made your phone calls in. He's pledged to make schools safer and reduce gun violence after the Florida school shooting, but gun advocates see a weakening resolve from the man they voted for in droves and spent millions to elect. Out in the firearms community, there is a great feeling of betrayal and abandonment because of the support he was given in his campaign for president. Tony Fabian, president of the Colorado Sports Shooting Association, said Friday. The comments highlight how little room the president and his party have to maneuver without angering and activating a politically powerful constituency. Gun Owners of America issued an alert earlier this past week, urging its 1.5 million members to call the White House and tell Trump to oppose all gun control, period. The organization said anti-gun activists, aided by congressional Democrats, are trying to convince the president he should support their disastrous gun control efforts. The message said, and sadly, it may be working. Michael Hammond, legislative counsel for the Virginia-based group, said the organization doesn't hesitate to oppose Republican incumbents and candidates whom it deems not sufficiently pro-gun. Motivating gun owners to go to the polls, not campaign funding, is the source of the gun lobby's strength, according to Hammond. When they feel gun ownership is threatened, then they're going to respond as if that's the preeminent issue, he said. President Trump, he has to be careful on how he talks about the Second Amendment because he will lose millions of followers, millions, if he betrays it. I don't think he's doing that. I think he's just using the negotiating skills that he's used to. But again, it's receiving widespread condemnation and widespread anger. Let's check out Eric Pratt on Fox.
For Gun Owners of America says it's time to defend our kids like we protect our lawmakers.
If they do go down that road, it's not going to stop bad guys from getting them, because no gun law yet has worked to stop bad guys. I mean, just look at Chicago. I mean, Chicago has been an utter failure. What actually would work is what candidate Donald Trump used to talk about, and that was repealing gun-free zones so that the good people can shoot back at the bad people. And
that's
unfortunately,
right.
that we didn't have that
sitting next to
there in Florida. I mean, we protect our president with guns.
Butterball.
We protect the Congress with guns, the senators, the representatives. But how do we protect our schools? We put a sign out front that says no guns are allowed here.
And Americans appear to agree. A new Washington Post
Americans agree. In a Washington Post poll, totally skewed and biased, and still the Washington Post bias poll has to admit that Americans overwhelmingly agree that it's not about gun control laws, not going to solve this problem. It's identifying mental health, but it's definitely not gun control laws are not going to solve this problem. These stupid democratic socialist commies who keep on threatening everybody's rights to defend themselves and to defend this republic from freaking tyrants, foreign and domestic. Even the Washington Post liberal lunatic skewed polls show that Americans agree with GOA and Eric Pratt and Larry Pratt. These guys are the patriots. And it was so good to see Mr. Pratt the other day. He was on a show last week. I mean, it's like sometimes you feel like you're in this whole thing. Sometimes you feel like you're just shouting to a wall. You know what I mean? Like you're shouting at a wall. And I guess like literally I am, because there's a wall here and there's a camera here. I'm shouting at the camera. But it's like, oh man, it's just like sometimes you feel like you're just shouting into a wall, or like into a sound-absorbing styrofoam. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. But then when you see, compatriots and fellow travelers like Mr. Pratt, and then we can just talk to him. And guys, get a clip of let Mr. Pratt on last week, and we can just talk to him, and we can just talk through some of the issues. I mean, it's so comforting. It's comforting. Because this is a fellow warrior on the path, you know what I mean? It's a fellow warrior who's getting slandered and crucified by the left and being called a demon and all this kind of stuff. But he's out there trying to defend lives. Trying to defend lives through statistical evidence and science, where the left just use emotionalism and scaremongering and fear-mongering tactics to woo people to act emotionally and not solve the problem pragmatically, which Israel, by the way, has done. Israel's already done it, folks. No more mass school shootings, okay? All the teachers are armed. I don't think all the teachers are armed, but many of them are armed. Southern Thailand has done it too. They've stopped their jihadis coming in and blowing their kids up. Okay? Or shooting them down with AK-47s. Okay? They stopped them. Go ahead. You can play the clip of him on the King's Report, or hanging out with us.
What to do when it was clearly.
No, don't play the volume. Just have him just show it. Just show the screen. There we go. But anyways, it's like, and it was great to see Mr. Pratt again on the show last week. I mean, because it's like, it brings comfort. You know what I mean? When you see other people that are out there, because sometimes you feel like you're the only one out there shouting about this issue. And it's like, how many gun owners and hunters do we have in this area? But they're all just quiet. They're all quiet. It's like sometimes so frustrating. It's like, this is the problem with conservatives. Conservatives are so modest and reserved because they're conservative. So they don't want to offend people because they're nice, generally nice people. But you understand, this is freaking warfare. This is a war that's being waged on Christian civilization and alpha Christianity, alpha Christian civilization. Like our founding fathers were alpha Christians. They were not beta Christians that bowed to the state and listened to their fake priests and pastors that would tell them to be little slaves to their states, like the Vatican and the Church of England. These were alpha Christians who said, no, I believe in God, I believe in the Bible, and I believe in my right to bear arms. And look at what America has become. It's become a country of, yes, we still have closet alpha Christians, but they're not vocal. They're not vocal. They don't speak out. Many of them are guilt-shamed by beta Christians and beta Christian pastors and beta Christian priests. We're telling them to lay down their arms and be food for the wolves. When Jesus said in Luke 22, buy a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, let's get that screen off. But anyways, it was great to see Mr. Pratt the other day. This family is doing the work of fighting these commies. Our family is, our father fled North Korea. We know how the commies work. Brother Sort, who is one of our, Congress in our in church, and he fled Pol Pot regime, the Pol Pot in Cambodia. And he knows, he says, literally, he came to America, and he said, wow, look at this. Look at the left. The left Democrats are literally the same as Pol Pot. That's what he said. He said when he came, he said, whoa, the commies are here. Look at them. The Democratic Party is the commies. And of course, how traitors that the Republican Party was allying with them and growing government and getting funding from George Soros. I mean, can you believe? Oh my gosh, it's incredible. This two-party duopoly. And it's been exposed now. Nobody believed it, but now it's been exposed. President Trump was the outside man. He was the breaker. He was the breaker of the pact between the two pro wrestling teams that were putting on a show in front of the American public, pretending that we had a choice in the matter when we didn't. We were voting for both parties, and both parties were growing government and increasing centralization of power, and both parties were allying together. Both parties were supporting the CIA running the drug trade. Both parties were supporting the war in Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it. Both parties were running us into the ground, into debt. Both parties were trying to disarm us. Did you know, Cook Joe was talking about it. Did you know that during World War II, the government of Germany, under Hitler, did you know this? National debt went down. Did you know that? The national debt of Germany went down during Hitler's wars. Do you know why? Do you know why the Catholic Church supported the killing and massacre of 12 million people, including the Jews? Did you know that the German debt was going down? Do you know why they were killing the Jews who were very wealthy? Isn't it interesting that as Hitler started massacring the Jews, he started confiscating their property and then paying the bankers? Isn't that interesting? Pushing down the national debt. Did you know that? And as Cook Jung my brother Justin, so brilliantly exposed, he's the first one I think who exposed that. Hitler's genocide in the 21st century, is simply foreclosure. It's the banks collecting on national debt. And they will support regimes and leaders that are violent and that will centralize power to themselves like Hitler because they want that collection of money. That country owes them money. Hurry up and pay it up. We'll support Hitler to go in, kill off some of the rich Jews, take their assets, take their money, and pay us back. It's a mob cartel, folks. It's a freaking mob. And whose best friend was Hillary Clinton's? Who was the best friend of Hillary Clinton? The number one campaign contributor to Hillary Clinton? Who was that again, folks? Oh, George Soros? Oh, an international banker? Oh, wanted to support Hillary Clinton to go in and kill off 35 million gun owners, steal and confiscate their assets to pay the banks back? Setting up FEMA camps. They never said it, but they were setting up all the systems to do it. Releasing from the FBI declassified documents saying Christians are domestic terrorists. This is where the government was going, folks. They were going to kill Christians who had guns. Do you understand? They were going to purge this nation, saying that they were terrorist organizations. This is exactly where if the left gets power again, we're going to be in the same boat again, folks. This is not a joke. Doesn't matter if we have 4 years of Trump, 8 years of Trump. It does not matter. Because when the left gets in there again, it's going to be time to kill y'all. You and me, that is. That's why more than ever, it is essential that the body of Christ understands the rod of iron. And that God gives us the biblical accoutrements of the crown. Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown. Hold fast to what thou hast. Psalm 2:8-9. And I will give you the nations for your inheritance and the ends of the earth for your possession, and you shall rule them with a rod of iron. And the vessels of the potter shall be shattered and broken to shivers. Revelation 2:27. And he shall rule the nations with a rod of iron, as he's given authority by his Father. Revelation 12:6. And she brought forth a man-child who shall rule the nations with the rod of iron, and was taken up to God and to his throne. Revelation 19:15. And out of his mouth comes a sharp sword with which he will smite the nations and rule them with a rod of iron, and treads the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. Do you understand? God defines his kingdom as rule with a rod of iron. It is the biblical way to rule the kingdom of God on earth. Is when the citizens, that is the co-heirs with Christ, Romans 8:17. Now we are heirs with God and co-heirs with Christ, not only in suffering, but in glory. The rule of the rod of iron, the poimaino of the rod of iron, where the co-heirs with Christ rule with the rod of iron, with Christ who also rules with the rod of iron. That is the only way to destroy criminality and the psychopathic class. To have the citizens have sovereignty, private property, freedom from taxation and theft, and having the rod of iron, the equalizer of force, so that they can be sovereigns and they can be kings and queens and live to their full potential in the glory of God. Amen.
Amen.
By the way, all you who are wondering what aju means, when we say aju means in Korean, the literal character is my Lord. My Lord. That's the easy way to understand aju. Every time we end a prayer with amen and aju, we're saying amen, which means truth, and aju means my Lord. It can also mean our human portion of responsibility as well, that I should own that. That's what it can also mean. I should own that. Meaning, I should have ownership of what was just told and spoken and preached, and I own it. I will own it. That's what it also means. But the actual characters are the character for me or my, and also that's and Ju means Lord. When you call Jesus Chunim, that's the same aju, Chunim. Chunim means Lord. The same Chunim, aju, Chunim. So in order for people to understand that easily in Korea, when we would say aju, we would say nae junim, which means my Lord and Savior. And then everybody would say aju, so that people could understand what aju would mean and not just think we're a cult. We are praising the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ every time we say aju. Do you understand that? Okay, so that's when people just don't understand. But when you understand, you can see in everything that True Father did was the love, the utter passion, infatuation with God. With God. Again, according to Washington Post bias polls, even Americans, according to Washington Post bias polls, agree that gun control won't do crap to stop these mass shootings. Number one, all the mass shooters are on psychotropic drugs, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which stop your body from absorbing serotonin, which of course regulates your mood, regulates your emotions, regulates your mind state, and regulates your sleep. You understand? It's a fundamental hormone for you to be a balanced human being. And when your body cannot absorb it, and that's what a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor is, or an SSRI, your body cannot uptake and absorb that hormone which it needs to regulate its mood. That's why some of the tendencies is homicidal mania or suicidal mania, which is the reason freaking all these, every single one, Fort Hood, Aurora, Columbine, you name it, Sandy Hook, Parkland, every single one of these bozos are on antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills, medication. But that's not talking to the media. Not talked at all. Because the freaking media is funded by the pharmaceutical companies. Just watch their programs. Look at the commercials. It's all pharmaceutical companies, including Sean Hannity, who's a patriot. But he won't speak out about pharmaceuticals because all his sponsors are freaking pharmaceutical companies. And of course, the other factor that nobody's talking about is that all these mass shooters, minus VA Tech, was what? Fatherless homes. See, they don't mention that, Tim. How huge a factor is that? I mean, that's a humongous factor. If there's a common factor between all these fools, is they're on SSRIs, they're mentally ill, they're psychopathic, and they are fatherless homes. They never had a daddy to teach them boundaries and consequences for their actions. So they think they can get away and they play like as if they're playing LARPing in a video game. That is live action role playing in a freaking video game. It's so sick that some of these crazy migrants who are also brainwashed by video games too in Europe, that they're murdering people or even raping girls and videotaping it with a freaking GoPro because they want to upload it and pretend like they're LARPing. I mean, this is how crazy this new generation is that grows up on video games. They're fatherless. They grew up in single mom homes. And they have no dads. They're depressed because they're on social media all day, which by its own creators admits that it makes you depressed. Do you understand? The own creators don't let their children use iPad and iPhone. Like Bill Gates, I'm sorry, Apple, it was Steve Jobs. He didn't even allow his kids to use iPhone and iPad. Because they know it's destructive. They know that your kids become detached from relationships and detached from reality. And there's studies that show the more social media you do, the more you get depressed because it's made on an incessant feedback loop of likes and thumbs ups, which then make you psychologically value your own value or have your life purpose surrounded by how many likes or thumbs up you get, which was such a pathetic, delusional reality. Which then prevents you from building real relationships with genuine human beings who actually care for you. Or to go out and exercise and be fit and do things in the real world and stop living in this delusional fantasy land. I mean, it's so pathetic. I mean, you got these kids, okay, on the freaking internet that play video games for their career. I mean,
yes, professional players, yes.
They play video games and people donate to them and like 24-hour playing. I mean, I don't know how they do 24 hours. They must play 8 hours while they're sleeping of their previous whatever. But there's channels, apparently, where you can go on, log on 24 hours a day and see video game live action playing.
Yes.
I mean, that's how pathetic people are, and they'll pay you. They'll pay you because you're entertaining them. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I mean, hey. Oh my Lord. I mean, it's so sick. The more internet, the more social media, the more we have, the more detached we get. We're devolving into a myopic, amoeba type brain function mentality. Our brains are devolving social media makes us more depressed, more anxiety-ridden, more seeking attention and affirmation by likes and thumbs ups. Are you kidding me? And how many people like your video? Instead of standing on principles, instead of communing with people with similar values and beliefs, and building relationships that are deep and meaningful and are multi-layered, instead of these shallow, fake video game relationships or these stupid women porn Korean drama relationships, which is so, oh my gosh, I just saw something. I was just watching with the Queen yesterday. Guys, pull up Vice. Japanese women hiring boyfriends. Okay? You can rent what they call a cry boy. Okay? You can rent a cry boy. And it's these guys that got perms on, they got freaking hair that, looks like female hair. And they turn on soap opera dramas for you, okay? They come, you pay them, there you go, play this video. And they watch a video with you and they cry with you. And that's supposed to give you catharsis. And that's supposed to make you feel happy. And you have to pay for this crap. Look at this. This is Japan. So they turn on these videos for you. Here's the Vice, and these are the guys that are crying alongside of you as you're watching these soap operas living in delusional land. And they empathize and they wipe your tears for you. Oh yes, oh, they're so empathetic. And then you have to pay them $100 an hour to do that.
Women around the world are gaining economic.
How's that different from male escort?
It is a male escort. They actually, in this story, they actually go into a male escort bars.
Women are turning to a newly emerging
where women will pay up to $1,000 to spend time with a young man like that who looks like girls.
Elements of the boyfriend experience,
and flirt with them. And then you can also hire these males to come and cuddle with you. Cuddle. You can hire them to cuddle with you. And so they'll come to your apartment, lay in your bed, and you can just sleep. I mean, not only, number one, not only is that dangerous, you know what I'm saying? You're inviting these idiots into your freaking, you don't even know these fools. You're laying and cuddling with them, and you're paying them for this. That's how pathetic women have become in Japan, and how pathetic boys have become in Japan. Playing video games and women addicted to female porn, which is drama. That's how pathetic this new generation is. They literally have to pay for these kind of services.
Therapeutic crying service for about $65 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Do you feel as though the women who hire you are lacking
it's so ridiculous.
Emotional or romantic
I mean,
I looked up how much these gamers are paid.
They can be paid quite a bit.
As of 2013, the 15 highest paid professional gamers in the world earned between $226,776 and $454,544.
All right, well, at least it's not in the millions, thank God. Oh my gosh. Oh, man.
Not yet, but it's called esports.
Golly. But this is a real breakdown. Yeah, it's true. It's a real breakdown of Christian culture, because Christian culture creates empathetic, loving men. Okay? That are also strong. Empathetic, loving men who can admit that they're sinners before God. I mean, that's fundamental to Christianity, right? Males and females have to admit that they are sinners before God. Okay? What does that make you do? It forces you to admit that you're not perfect. Okay? So women can't pretend they're perfect, and men can't pretend they're perfect. So they have to admit, they have to be vulnerable to the fact that they're imperfect and they have sin. Okay? So when they do something wrong, they're in a much better position if they're a practicing Christian that understands they're a sinner saved by grace and has no problem admitting that they're a sinner and doesn't want to do sin because they love God. God said, "He who loves me will follow my commandments and follow my word," etc. It creates empathetic, loving men who can open up to their spouse, okay, who can love their spouse, who can live with their spouse, even cry with their spouse, but at the same time still be a strong man. Okay? Because why? They love God. Okay?
I waited patiently, but no.
And it also creates
Was I missing
women
something?
who are respectful to the husband and empathize their husband's need for respect. Okay? So it creates women that are not entitled, not self-absorbed, not think that they're perfect goddesses that can do no wrong and whatever they do is absolutely right and not always good, which is bullcrap. But it creates women who have self-reflexivity and know that they're sinners too, and that they can't overlord over their husbands, and they have to respect him. So it takes out the entitlement of being a woman, and it takes the entitlement of being a man, and humbles both of them to the glory of Christ. Husbands have to unconditionally love their wife, which is very unnatural for a man. Women have to unconditionally respect their husband, which is very unnatural to women. But by doing so, they bring joy to God, and by trying, even though they're not perfect, by even just trying to do that, God is encouraged and God feels joy and says, good job, well done. It's so sad that these women have to hire fake actors. Fake actors. They're fake actors. Okay? To come into their life and to make them feel as if they're being empathized with. It doesn't matter whether or not they're really being empathized with, which they're not. These guys don't have any connection to them. They don't have any real concern. Just like a prostitute doesn't give a crap about you. They just want your money. But men actually believe, who are visiting prostitutes, they believe that this woman is in love with them. Do you know that? Just like these crazy women who are visiting these male escorts to cry with. It may not be sexual, but it's, in terms of women, it's romancing, which is a sexual act for women. It's just like hiring a prostitute for a man. You're falling in love with a delusion. That woman doesn't give a crap about you. She wants your cash money Benjamins. This idiot man doesn't give a crap about you. He wants your cash money Benjamins. You understand? And the fact that women are so stupid and deluded now in Japan that they actually that they rather have the feeling of being empathized with than actually being empathized with. It shows you how debased and pathetic they are. And of course, the same with men who feel that they would rather feel loved by a prostitute than have real love by a real woman who actually loves you as a eternal partner. I mean, it's ridiculous. But this is what Satan does. He wants to tear down the beauty of the relationship between the man and woman so that he can destroy society and enslave it.
I was interested to see how the other women had been affected by the experience.
What's going on? We got no audio out there? Is that what's going on?
Guys to hire our crying boy.
We got no audio? Okay, we got audio. We got audio. Had a technical glitch there for just a moment. Let's take a short break, and we'll be right back after this with more rants from the Second King.
Bible is today's AR-15. This incredibly tumultuous time in America.
That is very scary.
I think this is sacrilegious.
So,
it's a cult.
Welcome to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk.
And it's going to get up to about 46 with the periods of...
Because they know a citizenry who is armed. They wanted Hillary Clinton, and now they got Trump in, and he's starting to create success in America. They're coming after you, you Satanists! Our Creator has given us the right to have sovereignty because liberty and the Spirit of God is rising in the people. This is reality. You can't hate people. You can't call them crazy because we're informed.
Assault weapons. They specifically said they want the local people showing up with assault weapons. It's scary. It only takes one crazy person.
It's something I would consider keeping my child home, and it's scary.
I don't need a freaking assault weapon to defend myself. Only thing they're good for is killing. And you want to bless it? Shame on you.
The Sanctuary Church is expecting hundreds of people next Wednesday morning, many of them with assault rifles.
Moon is the son of the late Sun Myung Moon, who founded the controversial Unification Church that drew national attention in the 70s and 80s.
I don't want all this chaos. A weapon of war, a weapon of mass destruction.
Pickles for peace sounds just as absurd.
Do you trust these lunatics? The bullets are on your head.
But they're worshiping a weapon.
세계 선교 본부장 팀 에르입니다.
What kind of joke is that? Bozo, give me a break. It's ridiculous. They're freaking liars. All the demons are howling. We have now become the most famous church in the world, folks.
One church in Pennsylvania wanted to celebrate AR-15s in this incredibly tumultuous time in America in regard to gun violence.
Well, do you trust these lunatics that when they say, oh, no, we didn't load the weapons? This is a wacky church to begin with. They've done a lot of crazy things in the past. And it is ironically called World Peace and Unification Sanctuary.
As a Christian, you are not supposed to worship anything other than God.
Oh my gosh, these idiots make us look so good!
I'm sorry, I'm having fun. I apologize. I'm having fun. This is great. This is war.
Stay with us on the King's Report.
I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me when I'm beat down, broken. Hold my heart when it's split wide open. Turn these eyes to my soul protector and break the will of this born defector.
So, there's a church. There's a church in Pennsylvania.
It is ironically called World Peace and Unification Sanctuary. Not really a sanctuary I want to be in.
And they believe that the AR-15 represents the rod of iron in the Bible.
My understanding is they're blessing the people, but they're coming armed with AR-15s.
What the is wrong with this country?
If Jesus was alive today, he would not appreciate these holes running around saying that assault rifles are from the Bible. He was a socialist hippie wandering around the desert who did not believe in violence.
Revelations talks about the returning Christ ruling with the rod of iron.
That's meant to protect all of the people. It's the rod of iron. Celestial, maybe, I can't remember. I stopped reading the Bible when I didn't have to do it anymore for grades.
What the are they trying to accomplish with this? They're showing a strong commitment to protecting their families, their communities, and their nation.
Now, if you're in the military and you're going to war, completely different situation. But nobody should have that for their own private use, period.
He also said that, you want to prevent mass shootings, we should probably arm teachers instead of doing something about gun control. So,
what they say that they're going to take safety precautions where the AR-15s are going to be unloaded. They're not going to be loaded, and they're going to be in Ziploc bags.
When we bring all the weapons, we generally don't load them. You'll excuse me if I don't believe you. Besides which, as I said, the bullets are right around your frickin' head.
This church needs to be shut down immediately.
사람들에게는 만사의 형통할 수 있는
And the kingdom of God and his citizens are kings and queens that stand with the King of Kings and his kingship, that rule with the rod of iron in peace, justice, and mercy. Citizens are ours.
Now, the Rod of Iron Ministries, which is another offshoot of this church.
This is a satanic antichrist devil. These are not real Christians.
This is a cult.
We're very much opposed to it.
We don't worship government, we worship God.
How many of you feel safer knowing that your teacher has a gun? All of you.
You need to turn back to God.
Not to be dependent on the government.
Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown, hold fast to what God has.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report, Monday, March 12th, 2018. As you just saw just last break, YouTube is trying to shut us down again, folks. They just blocked us. They're trying to shut us down again. Of course, the stream did come back, and we did get back onto live stream. But look, we are getting disturbances from YouTube again. Unbelievable. YouTube is just such a censoring, totalitarian area. And unfortunately, it is a place where people have to use it because it's the most popular destination for posting up individual platforms of content. Which, unfortunately, because they're colluding with government, colluding with the centralization and monopolization of force, they want to be able to censor any opposing views. Notice how they don't censor ISIS videos, folks. How crazy! They don't censor ISIS videos. They don't. You can find ISIS videos, ISIS propaganda videos on YouTube, but yet they'll censor Hank Strange and Military Arms Channel and Such. I mean, give me a break. How ridiculous are these people? They're complete lunatics. They're complete totalitarians, Silicon Valley totalitarians. These little Starbucks, drinking, little beta male panini eating, tight skinny jeans, little chubby cheek Zuckerberg, Silicon Valley bozos that drive around in Lamborghinis and pick up sluts who want to be with them. I mean, it's just so pathetic. So ridiculous. And they want to censor any opposing views, and they want to censor anything that goes against their totalitarian desires of civilization because they want the U.S. to be run like China. Because then they'll have complete worship power, and everybody will have to worship them because nobody will have the ability to stand up against them. They'll be like the super bully in class that has disarmed everybody, and now all the girls want that bully, and now all the guys have to worship and bow to that person. That's what they want. But they're not even the strongest amongst the kids of the class. They're probably many times one of the weakest, but if there's some way they can have some magical powers, they can stand above everybody else, and all the strong males just have to bow down too, they love that. They just get off of that. These little beta male, little triumph of the beta male Hollywood Reporter cover idiots with their freaking hands in each other's pockets, fondling each other's crotches. These people are sick, little, weak, pathetic, string beans, okay? And they're probably the ones that were the wimps of the class, and so they want to force multiply, and they want to centralize power to themselves and rule, so they can have all these strong men and sort of get revenge at the jocks that got all the girls when they were younger. It's so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. And then literally they want to create a hell on earth allied with the Chinese communists, giving them the iCloud internet cloud database information, which includes your credit card information, all your personal info. I mean, golly, can you believe how unbelievably dangerous that is? But this is what the Silicon Valley beta males do. And they make a lot of money on tech. So they got the fancy Lambos and they got the hot girls in miniskirts and high heels. You know, the gold digger. They got the gold digger, you know, whores. So, I mean, it's like they think they have superpowers. They think they're God's gift to this earth. They think they're just cut above the rest. They just think they're the most brilliant things on earth. So, of course, then they should rule and regulate everything you do. And, of course, everybody should be happy if they dictate from on high with the communist government of China and Obama and Hillary Clinton what you should do, what you can say, what you should believe, what words you can use, how you should address transgenders, and every other thing under the sun, which is about control. They're the ones who want to help regulate the FCC. They're the ones who want to shut down freedom of speech on Berkeley. They're the ones who want to shut down opposing views and censor people who have different opposing subcultures and views like gun culture and self-defense culture, saying that's too dangerous for the public. Oh, yes, not only we want to ban all semi-automatic weapons, let's just ban all guns, and we must also ban the idea of self-defense. My gosh, how dangerous an idea that is. People dare protect themselves. Well, what if we want to destroy them and get rid of them? Well, they may protect themselves. Well, that's terrible. Give me a freaking break. These totalitarian lunatics. Now, let's go back to the Washington Post poll, ABC News poll that shows that the majority of Americans, even on a skewed liberal lunatic Washington Post poll where they overwhelmingly interview and poll liberals, even in the liberal polls, people say that gun control laws will not solve the mass shooting problem. Of course it won't, you idiots. Everybody knows that. You got to solve it by having an equal and opposite force that will be able to put down that crazy lunatic if he does what he does. And of course, it doesn't help if the FBI visited and the law enforcement visited this idiot's home 39 times. This guy had trouble with the law. 39 visits from the police. Are you kidding me? And this guy wasn't arrested? He even made calls to the police saying that he was dangerous. He even made tweets saying that he wants to be a professional school shooter, which is a felony in Florida. But nobody wanted to arrest this idiot, and cops were at his house 39 times, CPS at his house multiple times. I mean, can you believe this? And they didn't do anything about it because they want to underreport crime and underreport mental health so they can get larger funds from the federal government. Wow. See, none of that's reported, is it? Or the sheriff's deputies that stood up there for 4 minutes and let the kids get their heads blown off. Nobody wants to talk about that, huh? No, it's all the problem with the NRA and GOA and gun owners and the bitter clingers. My gosh, look how rabid these leftists are when Trump is in power. Can you imagine if Hillary Clinton was in power and they had the levers of all the power in this country? They would come to kill us, folks. Do you understand? This is a war. These people are not just making an argument. They are waging war, centralizing guns to themselves. Do you understand? That's why the body of Christ must have the rod of iron. We must have the power. Christian civilization must have the power through the citizenry, and the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Must have the power of the rod of iron and the crown of sovereignty to say, no more, no more, no more. And if the government tries to kill Christians and label them domestic terrorists and try to murder them, we will fight back, just like our founding fathers did to the redcoat tyrants. Because we got redcoats in the government, and her name was Hillary Clinton, and all the deep state, which is still there under Trump, trying to still do the redcoat plan. But our founding fathers fought against the redcoats, and the patriots of this nation and the Christians of this nation must have the rod of iron, so that if they try to think of anything stupid and try to enact their plan, the Christians will be able to stand against them and defeat them. That's why they want to ban the AR-15, and because they know that it is the rod of iron, and they know that if Christians start thinking of it as a rod of iron, they're going to get armed, and they're going to have that always that potentiality. And they know that they can't mess with them now. They know they can't mount their head while they murder them and genocide them, steal their assets, and pay off the bankers of George Soros. They know they can't enact their plan easily now. Which is the reason why they're always trying to guilt shame you and make your state-run pastor and priest tell you that you should be disarmed. When Luke 22 said, Jesus said, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Which was the weapon of killing of the day. Sword is not used for agriculture. Sword is not used for culinary purposes. Sword is not used for design and decoration. It's used to kill people, stab you through the throat, and go through the body, up the intestines, and out your shoulder, just like the idiot said the AR-15 does. Sword can do the same thing to you too. That's what it's meant to do, to protect you from harm. And at the worst case scenario, to protect you from tyrannical government, which is the most murderous organ and cartel organization in the world. In the last century alone, 220 million innocent people murdered by their own governments. And you have the leftists say to you, they have the gall to say to you, do you think your own government can kill you? You think your own government with your own elected politically elected people can kill you? Of course we do, you idiot, because we know history, the last 100 years is plagued with elected officials taking over government and killing millions of people, i.e. Hitler. And of course now they're using that argument on Trump. They said you were crazy. If you said that on Hillary Clinton, they would think, oh my God, how dare you say that? Oh, Piers Morgan, are you that paranoid that you think that your own government and your own elected officials will become tyrannical and rule over you? And now that's exactly what they're saying with Trump. They acted like you were crazy if you said it back then, but now they're saying it with Trump. You see how flip-floppy, unbelievably hypocritical and irregular and imbalanced these people are? They're crazy. And it's this type of psychopaths that want to get the levers of power controlled so they can rule over you, destroy your family, separate you from your children, brainwash them, indoctrinate them into crazy ghettos of sexuality and crazy ghettos of internet reality. They want to split your marriage up. They want to feed you poisonous foods and what is that? Fluoridated water, which is known to calcify your brain and give you dental fluorosis. They want to depopulate you, get rid of you, because you're just a useless eater in their own words. You're a virus which needs to be eradicated so that they can save the polar bear and save the environment. Meanwhile, all they want is to rule over the whole earth and exploit it for themselves. Because they're parasites, they're leeches, they are vampiric bats, they are parasitical organisms that have to feed off of healthy, successful, beautiful, healthy, powerful couples, powerful families, and powerful civilization. Let's get back to this clip with Eric Pratt. Oh, Lord. Back to the clip.
And not gun control laws.
Now, whether Congress has the will to actually act is unclear, but even the NRA appears to be on the same page, who said last October that they support further regulation of these devices. And also, the president wants to get tougher on keeping guns out of the hands of the wrong people with this
NRA
tweet here. Whether
this is so
we
frustrating.
are Republican or Democrat,
background checks don't help anything. Shooters are able to clear all background checks. Background checks just make a registry of legal gun owners. That's all it does. Background checks don't stop criminals from buying guns on the street. Background checks don't stop criminals from getting guns illegally. Or background checks don't even stop criminals from getting guns legally. It's so ridiculous. Time to end gun-free zones. Liberal lunatics will never put up a sign in front of their house saying that my house is a gun-free zone. They will never put that up. Yet they want to put that on schools where our kids go for, quote, learning, but really indoctrination. They want to put gun-free zone signs outside schools, yet they will not do that for their own home. What evil, lying vipers. If they're willing to put the dangerous sign of being gun-free zone on the schools and make our kids a target, they should be willing to do it for their own property. But we see time and time again, they don't do it. Pull up Project Veritas. Project Veritas, gun-free zones. Gun-free signs. And let's watch journalists go to the liberal lunatics. Anyways, just take a look. Go ahead, play the clip. These freaking hypocritical liars.
We are not afraid.
No guns, no violence.
No guns, no crime.
No guns, no murder.
Guns kill children.
Armed cops, not citizens.
The police will protect us.
Guns make good people do bad things.
Take all guns from everyone,
so no one else is harmed.
Anti-gun is pro-America.
We are not afraid.
Join us.
Tell everyone your house is completely unprotected.
Tell them this is a gun-free zone.
Put a sign in your lawn that says no guns here.
We're not afraid.
We're defenseless. We are not afraid.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us. Because there's strength in numbers.
A suburban New York City newspaper is in the middle of a big controversy this morning after it put up online the names and addresses of everyone with a gun permit.
We also know which houses don't have guns.
Since these reporters and editors did not consider it a violation of the privacy and safety of others to reveal which homes have guns and which homes don't, we went to see which of them would be willing to put up a sign publicly declaring their homes to be gun-free zones. While we didn't find any members of the media with the strength of their convictions, we did find quite a few guns and some good explanations for why they might be necessary.
We're really hoping people will kind of lead by example in their community spots.
And advertise themselves as proudly, this home is proudly gun-free. Can we put you down for a sign?
In this neighborhood, that nobody puts out stuff like that. They actually published a list of all of the gun owners.
And we're just doing the same thing. It's just people that don't.
The opposite,
yeah. It's just the opposite. So I mean,
no,
what's the difference, really?
I do believe in it, but I think I'll pass on that.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, good morning.
We're with Citizens Against Senseless Violence. Is this?
I'm sorry, I can't tell. But good luck.
No.
Is
you don't care about children?
Is this? But we're just trying to get people to notice and to see these.
Other reasons I can't get into that.
Do you have guns?
I agree with you, and I am on your side on this, but I'm just wondering if that's not an invitation to somebody with a gun.
There you go.
I don't know. I want to think about it.
See how stupid these idiots are?
I agree with you.
See, when they have to deal with their own house, then they won't do it. Piece of shit. Shish kebab.
But you're concerned that if you say you're gun-free, somebody with a gun
Biscuit baskets.
I think, yeah.
I put signs out. The problem in this town is, somebody driving by around here might think it's might think it's an invitation to come barging in. Well, if it's senseless.
There you go, you stupid columnist for the Star Ledger, you idiot Bob Brown.
I would put the sign up.
You're advocating gun-free zones at school. What do you think? People can drive by and see that, you dumbass Trey. Freaking idiot. These people make me sick.
I agree with you in terms of gun control.
I'm sorry. Are you the same one that's on TV?
Yeah.
And so then we can assume that you're not a gun owner yourself and there are no guns there.
No, I'm not a gun owner.
What are the chances we could get something like on this door? I notice it's all like a glass door in the front, something that just says, this building proudly gun-free or something like that.
That I'd have to talk to my neighbors. I don't know that. I honestly don't know what they feel on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, good luck, you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, expose those freaking hypocrites.
We're going around.
This home is proudly gun-free. What does that mean? Well, you're against guns?
Proudly.
Yes.
We're against guns.
I'm not. Does that answer your question? Yeah, they put us down on that internet, and they put my wife's name by mistake.
Do you believe that?
They're against guns.
You're against guns.
Yeah, so I said I'm not.
You can't show your gun like that, by the way, Grandpa. If you do that, that's aggravated assault. If you didn't draw it, but he's brandishing it.
Yeah, well, the only problem is
he could get sued for that, by the way.
My wife works for the newspaper.
You leave a sign with you and put it up when the time is right?
Yeah.
So you'll take it, you just
This is New York, though. This is New York and New Jersey.
Her life's been threatened. I moved to Canada because I hated guns. The issue is never going to be guns. What the issue is that you got to get them back down to one bullet magazines.
One bullet magazines?
There's no threats.
Against you?
No, my wife. Show it to her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're with Citizens Against Senseless Violence.
Okay, I will definitely pass that along to them.
Well, this is our last one.
That's your last, okay.
Unless they absolutely want it.
No, I'm sure they don't. I think they just want this all to go away. They don't want to publicize it any further than it already is.
Would you like a sign for your front yard?
I definitely do not, thank you.
Maybe she put on a robe or something like that. Here she comes. We're being ignored.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Okay.
Wait, they said that.
You can't record. Okay.
Okay.
It's against the law to record.
4 federal circuit courts of appeal have all agreed that recording police officers in their line of duty in public is fully protected under the First Amendment.
I actually think that the person whose doorbell you rang thought you were coming. I think they actually agree with that, and they thought you were coming from an oppositional. They phoned us because their president there is an employee of a company that is undergoing some backlash.
Morning. Is this your home here? No. We're the Citizens Against Senseless Violence.
This is private property, guys.
This is
private property. We'll call the police. We're going to before I call the police. Private property. We want to get them off the streets, out of our homes, away from our kids, out of our schools. I understand that, but this is private property. You can take that wherever you want. Are you the homeowner here, sir? Sir, I'm asking you nicely. I don't want to call the police. You're on private property.
This is actually not private property. It's private property. It starts right there.
Property? This one certainly is.
It starts right there.
Sir, 50 by 100 is a lot. That's private property. Unless you pay my taxes. We're all standing.
I do pay taxes.
We're all standing here in the public street. We're just trying to.
All right. right, next house.
You're on camera.
How can I help you? How you doing?
Good, how are you? We are with a newly formed group called Citizens Against Senseless Violence, and we're just trying to get support from folks in the D.C. area to kind of promote the cause, no guns on the street, that kind of thing.
Right. They're not hungry right now.
You don't know if they're like not allowed to have signs or anything like that? Because there's none in the neighborhood.
They won't, but I don't know about anybody else.
You the homeowner here?
I'm not. It's my parents' house, actually. I'm sure they would totally support what we're doing here, because, we're not gun owners or anything. I don't know if my father's kind of, I don't know if he'd want that, to be honest with you. I don't know if he'd want to advertise.
Thank you, you too.
We're Citizens Against Senseless Violence.
We're assuming this is a gun-free
Irvington, New York.
That's correct.
That's Irvington, New York.
I'm not going to take on your signs. I appreciate what you're doing, but by the same token, I'm going to pass on the sign, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Hi, we're with Citizens Against Senseless Violence. Can we sign you up?
No thanks.
Yeah, any particular reason? Are you gun owners?
I agree with you. I don't want to sign in my home. Thank you very much.
Exactly. When it comes to your safety, you stupid liberal lunatic.
Again, not a single member of the media.
But when it's
willing
other
to live
people's
up to the
safety,
strength of
you
their
don't give a
convictions.
shish
Now,
kebab!
parting thought from our good friend
Piece
Bob
of
Grohl
trash!
at the Star Ledger, which
Freaking
also wants
selfish
to target
little
law-abiding gun
vipers.
owners.
We're going to get a nasty note from one of my most progressive friends who says, because I'm a columnist, and I wrote a column against, for stricter gun laws, and he said, you're a fool because when the right wing takes over the government, we're going to need guns.
So he's worried the right wing's going to take over and then...
Yeah, and then there won't be guns to fight them back. So then I said to him, but they got the Army, they got the Army and the Navy and the Marines and everything else. And he said, well, he said there's going to be a revolution there too, but,
And there you go, folks. That's the reality of the liberal lunatic left, pretending to support gun-free zones, okay? And not on pretending, I'm trying to push legislation to make all the schools gun-free zones and put signs outside the schools that say this is gun-free zone, okay? And then they won't even do it for their own freaking house. Shows you how much they believe in the conviction of their beliefs. Shows you how much they know how dangerous their own freaking beliefs are, which is proven by the fact that they won't put up the same signs that they want to put in front of the schools and the movie theaters. I mean, does anybody with a rational brain see this and not see how evil these people are? I mean, how can you not see this? This, by the way, this is real journalism. How can you not see? How can you see this and think, oh, they're really honest people when they're writing for gun-free zones and they're talking about banning guns? I mean, it's just crazy. They're completely crazy. And it just gets so frustrating looking at these people and just thinking and just seeing how dumbed down the population is. And actually the fact that we see them and we try to this is the problem with the right. They're just trying to be so polite to these people when they should be called out for the utter hypocrisy and utter blazing arrogance and total elitism that they represent. I mean, they're just unbelievably sociopathic when it comes to their beliefs. I mean, they're willing to put gun-free zone stickers and signs in front of schools where children are vulnerable, yet they won't do it for their own home. If they really believe in it so much, well, why don't they proudly display that they're a gun-free zone? Huh? See that?
Yeah.
I mean, Project Veritas and James O'Keefe, these guys are brilliant. They do such good work. God bless them. God bless them. They are such patriots down there. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Join us with more on the other side. We'll see you on the other side.
there, folks. And look at what I've got here today. My God, take a look at this. This is a BFR in 454 Casull with an octagonal barrel, magna porting, micarta grips. And look at that, it even has my initials on it, JM. Look at that thing of beauty, my God. Pop open the cartridge insertion door, and look at that cylinder spin. The finest revolvers in the world. That's the cannon. That's the cannon. Oh, man. Pretty hectic, though. That's our target. Oh boy! Massive repo.
He's living.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Monday, March 12th, 2018. Let's go now to Tim for some important reports. Tim.
The Kings often refer to the fact that Jeff Bezos, who owns both Amazon and Washington Post, has a contract with the CIA through Amazon for the cloud computing system worth about $600 million, I believe. But now Amazon is trying to get a similar contract with the Pentagon that could be worth billions. And people are raising some criticism about this. And let's look into this. This is the Hill article that was on, this was published yesterday. Antitrust critics fear that a winner-take-all contract for the Defense Department's cloud computing system could help tech giant Amazon corner the government contract market even further. The winner of the contract, which the DoD updated its position on last week, in its current form would give the winner control over serving the Pentagon's cloud computing system as it switches over from an older IT system. The agency predicts that the contract will be worth billions.
Golly.
Amazon competitors like IBM and Microsoft have been pushing for a multi-party contract that would split cloud computing services between several companies. They argue that leaving the contract in the hands of a single provider unnecessarily increases cybersecurity risks. It's certainly an indication that Amazon has enormous political power, said Stacy Mitchell of the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, a research group that advocates for local businesses and tracks Amazon's movements in government. They have translated their corporate power and wealth into political power. The fact that the process was accelerated and opaque and that other bidders didn't have the opportunity to get involved and bid on it, it seems to be an indication that Amazon has an inside track to a competitive bidding process, she argued.
Oligarchy.
Yeah, Matt Stoller, the economist at the Open Markets Institute, who has become a vocal critic of Amazon's market power, said that Amazon landing the sole source contract could have wide-ranging negative effects. This is a monopoly story, but this is a really serious national security story, Stoller said. A single-source provider for Pentagon cloud services is obviously reckless. The Pentagon should clearly have multiple cloud providers so that if something happens to one of them, there is resiliency and redundancy. Companies frustrated by what they see as procurement bias towards Amazon have also slammed the decision. IBM called the move flawed, while Microsoft said it was disappointed. The tech companies have voiced their frustration through their trade association, the Information Technology Industry Council, which also represents Amazon. We are concerned with reports regarding a single award cloud contract for the department enterprise, as well as possibly canceling all awarded DoD cloud contracts, leaving the department with only one cloud solution, ITI wrote in a November letter to the Pentagon that was obtained by the Hill. The Pentagon has denied holding any bias toward any single company. We want the best solution for the department. We have no favorites, Timothy Van Name, the Deputy Director of the Defense Digital Service, told reporters on a call on Wednesday. Amazon has also disputed the idea that it's being favored in the contracting process. Quote, the Pentagon will select the provider that best meets their needs for their warfighter. Legacy providers that claim otherwise are focused on protecting their own bottom line and not advancing the mission of DoD, an Amazon Web Services spokeswoman told The Hill in an email. Not all experts watching the high-profile contract say it would necessarily be bad for one company to win the entire contract. Chris Kumiski, a senior fellow at George Washington University's Center for Cyber and Homeland Security, said that going with a single-source provider means that the government has fewer companies to manage. With something like this, it probably does make sense to have one unified approach to the technology. He said, there's been a notion that if you have multiple vendors, it's harder to manage the landscape of vendors. But Kumiski added that multiple vendors on a single contract reduces the risks if one vendor has a problem. Personally, I would feel that a little bit comfortable if they had a little bit more vendors. It's the hardest thing to manage, but it gives you redundancy, he qualified. Critics of the contract say that it would allow Amazon to further tighten its grip on all of government contracting. This is really huge. Amazon entering the defense market because it's about the concentration of power. It's about the concentration of power.
There you go.
Once you get into one contract, then the other ones are soon to follow, said one senior Democratic congressional aide who has worked on national defense issues. They'll be a dominant player in defense, which is a very clubby space. This isn't Amazon's first foray into high-dollar government contracting. Last year, the company made a play for a lucrative multi-billion-dollar contract with the Government Services Administration, which experts say could give it a monopoly over the government commercial procurement space. In 2013, Amazon was awarded a contract to handle cloud computing for the CIA. In 2016, Amazon hired Ann Rung, the former U.S. Chief Acquisition Officer at the Office of Management and Budget's Office of Federal Procurement Policy. Hiring Rung and others has been seen as a sign that Amazon is focused on securing government contracts.
Crony capitalism.
They actually hire in-the-weeds policy people, which is why their relationships on the Hill aren't that great, the senior Democratic aide said, adding that the tech giant makes up for a lack of Capitol Hill connections with agency relationships. Experts say that landing the Pentagon contract could help Amazon win even more government deals in the future. I can't overestimate how competitive this space is and how it sets the tone for the rest of the agencies in the federal government, said Comiskey. When that DoD domino falls, it will give whoever gets it a competitive advantage across the government space. So Amazon, using their financial, economic power to gain political power, to concentrate power in themselves. Jeff Bezos.
It's exactly what oligarchy is.
Yes.
Crony capitalism. Jeff Bezos is the king of crony capitalism. What a evil, wicked man. And of course, he wants to disarm everybody as well.
Yes.
What a
yes.
What a
and through the Washington Post, he's spreading this leftist ideology, which concentrates power in the elite. Well, let's look at what Jimmy Carter is saying about the possible Trump-Kim meet. He says, well, the headline is Jimmy Carter on North Korea. It's good we're going to talk to them. Jimmy Carter, of course, went to North Korea in the 90s when there was actually possibility when President Clinton was about to stage a military strike against North Korea, probably hours away from doing that, and he went to North Korea and diffused that situation, although the ultimate results were not good. Former President Jimmy Carter said Sunday that while I don't agree with everything that President Trump has done, well, imagine that. He doesn't agree with everything that President Trump has done. I think it's good that he's decided to go meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. If we could avoid a nuclear confrontation with North Korea, that would be a wonderful achievement, Carter, 93, told his Sunday school class at Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains. It's good we're going to be talking to them. Thursday's announcement that Trump would accept Kim's invitation to meet has been controversial in some quarters. It was especially timely where Carter was concerned. I made arrangements last week with the White House to have some experts come down and give me an up-to-date briefing on what's going on concerning North Korea, he said. They came down that day they came down the day that Kim Jong-un invited Trump to come over. So we had a lot to talk about. Carter, who recently announced that he would start cutting back on his Sunday school duties, broke some other happy news to his class about his wife's health, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, that's all that he said about North Korea. President Trump going to California tomorrow. California, here he comes. Trump will head to the state he loves to hate as he inspects border wall prototypes and headlines Beverly Hills fundraiser that costs up to $250,000 per person. Well, our fundraiser was only $100 or $50 per person. But this is $250,000 per person. President will head to Southern California on Tuesday. Beverly Hills fundraiser dinner is on his itinerary. So is a visit to San Diego, where the Homeland Security Department has been building prototypes for a border wall project. Liberal California is enemy territory for the president, says the Daily Mail of UK. State officials have tried to block his immigration and other initiatives, filing at least 30 federal lawsuits since Inauguration Day. And the text is, Donald Trump is coming at last to the state he loves to hate, setting foot in California for his first time as president. This is turf he lost to Democratic Hillary Clinton by more than 4 million votes in 2016. He has mocked its judges for blocking his agenda, sued over its lax enforcement of immigration laws, and threatened to pull out federal agents. But there's something he's dying to see there, the prototypes for his long-promised wall on the U.S.-Mexican border. And there's something he's eager to do here, raise cash from the Beverly Hills crowd. Trump's arrival Tuesday will come just days after his Justice Department sued to block a trio of state laws designed to protect people living in the U.S. illegally. Democratic Governor Jerry Brown likened it to an act of war with Trump's administration. The state of California is sheltering dangerous criminals in a brazen, lawless attack on a constitutional system of government. Trump complained in his weekly address, accusing California's leaders of being in open defiance of federal law, which they are. They don't care about crime. They don't care about death and killings. They don't care about robberies, he said, calling on Congress to block the state's federal funds. Last week, Oakland's mayor warned residents of an impending immigration raid, a move that Trump called disgraceful and said put law enforcement officers at risk. The state has also joined lawsuits aimed at stopping construction of Trump's stalled border wall, and its judges have repeatedly ruled against policies Trump has tried to enact. In recent months, Trump and other administration officials have threatened both to flood the state with U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents and to pull ICE out of the state completely. I mean, frankly, if I wanted to pull our people from California, you would have a crying mess like you've never seen in California, Trump said last month, predicting crime like nobody has ever seen, crime in this country. Meanwhile, Trump's acting ICE director has repeatedly threatened to increase its enforcement footprint in the state in retaliation for its limited cooperation with federal immigration authorities, and he appears to be making good on his promise. California better hold on tight. They're about to see a lot more special agents, a lot more deportation officers, Thomas Homan said on Fox earlier this year before his agency conducted a series of raids. White House officials said the trip has been in the works for months, and the timing so close to recent flare-ups was coincidental. When asked if Trump planned to play nice on the trip, White House spokesman Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, "Look, I think if anybody is stepping out of bounds here, it would be someone who is refusing to follow federal law, which is certainly not the president. And we're going for what we hope to be an incredibly positive trip." Trump's overnight visit will include a stop in San Diego to inspect 8 sample designs for the wall he's been raring to build. He will also be speaking with members of the military and traveling to Los Angeles for a splashy Beverly Hills fundraiser where attendees will pay up to $250,000 per person. Trump's appearances in the left-leaning state during the 2016 campaign were marked by sometimes violent clashes between his supporters and opposition groups. In some cases, protesters blocked traffic and threw rocks and beer bottles. Protests are expected during this trip. Trump's more than year-long absence from the nation's most populous state, home to 1 in 8 Americans and by itself the world's 6th largest economy, has been conspicuous but not surprising. Trump country it is not. As a candidate, Trump suggested he could win California, a state that hasn't supported a Republican for the White House in 3 decades. Since his election, Sacramento has emerged as a vanguard in the so-called Trump resistance. Democratic State Attorney General Javier Becerra has filed nearly 30 lawsuits to block administration proposals. California was the home of Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, but Republican influence here has been fading for years as a surge in immigrants transformed the state and its voting patterns, which is what the Democrats, of course, planned on. The number of Hispanics, blacks, and Asians combined has outnumbered whites since 1998. Meanwhile, the state's new voters, largely Latinos and Asians, lean Democratic, and Democrats hold every statewide office and control both chambers of the legislature by hefty margins. Polls have found Trump deeply unpopular in the state, with most residents opposed to policies he's championed, such as expanding offshore drilling. Jessica Hayes, chairwoman of the San Diego County Democratic Party, said Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric plays especially poorly in a state with close trade and tourism connections with Mexico. Now, these are our neighbors. These are our friends, she said. Trump has repeatedly floated the idea of flying in to pick the winning design for the border wall, telling rallygoers last month in Alabama, "I'm going to go out and look at them personally and pick the right one." The Department of Homeland Security has said there's nothing to stop Trump from turning the wall design contest into a Miss Universe-style pageant. But the department also says it doesn't anticipate that a single prototype will be selected. Instead, the samples are expected to inform future border wall design standards, as said spokesman Tyler Holton. Okay, so Trump going to California tomorrow. I hope it doesn't turn out to be like Kennedy going to Texas. That would be tragic.
Oh boy. Well, there's now video that InfoWars has put up. Watch Donald Trump call Gary Cohn a globalist to his face. Let's take a look at this video. Audio volume cued.
Gary Cohn's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific. He may be a globalist, but I still like him. He's seriously a globalist, there's no question. But you know what? In his own way, he's a nationalist because he loves our country.
There we go. He calls Gary Cohn a globalist. There's another story on Infowars.com where Stormy Daniels is set to reenact a pornographic sex scene with Trump look-alike. And this is, of course, in order to degrade the presidency and try to say that he was a adulterer, and then, you know, conservatives are hypocrites and Christians are hypocrites for supporting him because he may have had a sexual relationship with a porn star, which was consensual. But again, no Christian vote for him because he's Jesus. No Christians voted for him because they voted for him because he's standing up for policies that will protect law-abiding Christian civilization. And nobody is voting for him because he's, you know, perfect. You know, he's got a lot of money, and I'm surprised he doesn't have more girl problems. But he didn't rape people like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton raped people, and the left covers it up for him. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they have lesbian relationships. Hillary Clinton, Oprah had lesbian relationships. They cover that stuff up too. Bisexuality of Obama, they cover that up too. I mean, they didn't probe into any of that. So ridiculous. And they got an actual president, Bill Clinton, who was actually raping women. And of course, they all cover that up. How ridiculous that is. This is a shocking story here. Oakland coffee shop also refuses to serve police officers, that they compromise the safety of immigrants. Can you believe it? They're refusing to serve police officers. Unbelievable. Also another video, Tommy Robinson was attacked by Antifa gang of like 10 people, these mass little piece of trash, attacked Tommy Robinson, who was doing just reporting on some show, and the leftist show rally that they were doing. And he was attacked. I did see the video. He was attacked by these Antifa thugs. Let's take a look at this video footage of the UFO, an unidentified flying object, apparently. Sensational 2-minute clip captured by camera aboard a U.S. Navy FA-18 jet flying at 25,000 feet. Wowed military personnel. What the F is that thing? Shall the pilot video posted online by the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, a private research company. Oh my gosh, dude, exclaimed the jet's weapons system officer. The video was shot off the East Coast in 2015. The Stars Academy did not say how it obtained the declassified footage, but said it could obtain it through the Freedom of Information Act. Let's take a look at this. Of something flying very quickly. Caught on film. Unidentified aerial phenomena. That's what they're calling it now. I guess the It's like a missile or something.
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at the fly.
Okay, so some type of technology that they're catching on film, and I guess they're calling it UAE to differentiate from the whole UFO conspiracy wackiness that these UFO, wacky people say that all they're aliens and all this crap. But there you go. That's a video found on shot by U.S. Navy jet on that unidentified aerial projectile or something like that. Look at this shocking news on Mother's Day cards going gender neutral, folks. Look at this. The British supermarket chain is selling a Happy You Day card in its Mother's Day's range in which the word mother does not appear. There you go. Waitrose is selling gender-neutral Mother's Day cards as retailers reduce their use of the M word. Oh, it's now the M word.
It's now the M word.
To make today's celebration more transgender inclusive, yes. The supermarket chain is selling a Happy You Day card in its Mother's Day range in which the word mother does not appear. Waitrose said the move was aimed at broadening out who the card can go to, whether it's grandmas or transgender mums. Traditional cards are still sold. 2 mums are better than 1 card for same-sex couples. And a dad, thanks for being the most amazing mom card. Golly. These people are freaking... I mean, they might as well be in a loony bin. It's completely crazy. All right, let's go back to some more sane people. Mark Oliva and a new low for anti-gun Malloy. Let's take a look at Mark Oliva.
I want to bring in from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Mark Oliva is with us. Mark, how are you, sir?
Good. Hey, I appreciate you having us on, Cam.
Absolutely. I'm glad you could join us here. NSSF, based out of Connecticut. I know that you're there in Washington, D.C., but this is a Connecticut organization representing firearms manufacturers from around the country. Certainly, Governor Dan Malloy has blasted gun makers in the past, blasted NSSF in the past, but we did see a new low for the governor this week when he declared that the NRA is a terrorist organization, and I guess that means the 5 million members, including the thousands of Connecticut residents, constituents of Governor Malloy, in his mind, must be terrorists as well.
Yeah, when I saw the news clip, it certainly made us sit back and see, we've been down this road before. We've seen what the governor has said to the firearms industry post-Newtown shootings, and that affected all of our family here at National Shooting Sports Foundation very, very personally, very closely. So it was very unfortunate to hear him say it, but it was also one of those things where, something, every time that we hear the other side say that they want to have a conversation and they want to talk about gun violence, or they want to talk about the issues of guns in America, they start to throw around words like terrorist and Nazi, and they start to throw around words like murderers, and they point that at us. And at some point, that conversation came on that foot. And we thought it was important that we take a stand. And I asked Larry Keene, hey, let me take the one that has the response on this. I've fought terrorists. I've served in the Marine Corps for 25 years. I've done 3 tours in Iraq. I did a tour in Afghanistan. I know what the terrorists look like, and we're not terrorists. I'm a lifetime NRA member. Many of us at the National Shooting Sports Foundation are NRA members, and I found it personally insulting. I know what a terrorist does. A terrorist brings violence to civilians to achieve a political aim. We're gun owners. We are Americans. We want to embrace our rights. We want to protect our kids. We want to protect our families. So, for him to come out and say something like that, it needed a response. And for us to show the flailings of a governor who is failing his duties as a governor and failing his state and failing his citizens. And he needs to be called on it.
Absolutely. Listen, you note Governor Malloy's approval rating in the tank, I think second lowest. Maybe now that Governor Christie's not in office, maybe the lowest approval rating for a governor in the country. You also know that this is nothing new from Governor Malloy. You write that the firearms industry that first built Connecticut's industrial base was Malloy's target back in 2013 on CNN, talking with Andrea Crowley, and he said, quote, "What this is about is the ability of the gun industry to sell as many guns to as many people as possible, even if they're deranged, even if they're mentally ill, even if they have a criminal background. They don't care. They want to sell guns." So you're right, Mark. I mean, this is nothing new from the governor, but it is a new low for the governor. It's one thing. I think, right? We're kind of used to hearing the gun industry, the gun lobby, but now we're talking about, again, millions of Americans, in many cases, men and women just like you, who have worn the uniform, who have served overseas, who have fought terrorists, real terrorists. And for a governor, again, to accuse you and those millions of NRA members of being like ISIS, of being like Al-Qaeda. I know that we live in a world of hyperbole and inflamed rhetoric. I get it. But Mark, there are some things that you just really can't take back. And once you've declared millions of law-abiding Americans to be terrorists, I don't know how you walk that one back.
And here's the unfortunate part, Cam. I don't think the governor's interested in walking it back. I think the governor is more than happy to throw the verbal bombs out there to do what he needs to do to get attention back to him. No one's paying attention to this governor anymore. No one wants to listen to him. Even the people in his own state don't. So when you start to throw incendiary language out there, it's going to start to grab headlines, and people might start paying attention to you again. Unfortunately, this is no way to solve problems. There's no way to serve your governorship. There's no way to serve your citizens, and there's no way to reach across the aisle and find answers to problems that truly exist. If he was certainly interested in trying to improve safety, he would come alongside and do what National Shooting Sports Foundation and the NRA has done and back programs like Senator Cornyn's Fix NICS program, which would incentivize every state and enforce every federal agency to upload all existing disqualifying records, whether those be criminal or adjudicated mentally ill, and make sure that those get into the background system so we can make sure that the people who should never have a gun never have one in the first place. But instead of trying to reach across the aisle, instead of trying to work with us on language that we can agree is common ground, something that we want to get done, something his own senator, who's certainly not a fan of the firearms owner, he agrees on this. And if he was interested in trying to get anything done with this, if Governor Malloy wanted to get something done with this, he would instead use his time in front of a news camera to make sure that we could get Fix NICS across the finish line and get that signed into law.
Absolutely. But, listen, it's important to note as well something Governor Malloy, I don't think he's not leading the pack here. He's following the herd, right? Because he's not the first person, unfortunately, who has, made these outrageous statements. I mean, you've got, billboards that are being put up by anti-gun activists declaring the NRA to be a terrorist organization. This is Governor Malloy jumping on the bandwagon, hoping to, again, get a piece of that anti-gun pie, hoping to get that television interview, hoping to get that 30 seconds of FaceTime. And I guess it doesn't matter, again, what you have to say to get it. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't think the governor is interested in walking this back. In fact, I'll say this, Mark. I suspect that the governor probably really does think that you are a terrorist, that I am a terrorist. And he's not interested in hearing your point of view. He's not interested in hearing my point of view any more than he was interested in hearing the point of view of gun owners in 2013 who packed the state capitol in Connecticut objecting to these sweeping gun laws. And Governor Malloy avoided even looking at those gun owners, didn't want to go anywhere near those gun owners who had turned out to protect their rights.
No, you're absolutely right, Cam. And again, the tragedies that happened in Newtown, the tragedies that happened in Parkland, Florida, they're disgusting. And they turn the stomach of every law-abiding gun owner in America. And we don't want those things to happen. We want to make sure that those things don't happen. We certainly don't want those to happen to my neighbors, to my family. And that's why we decide that we're going to take our protection responsibilities on our own. We're going to make sure that that is a responsibility that I embrace. And I'm going to be able to take care of my family. That's why I own a gun. Because there are people I'm not going to be able to physically fight off. I'm not going to be able to protect myself against a madman with verbal assaults. So I'm going to make sure that I'm armed the way I need to be armed to protect my family. So when the governor's doing things like this, he's not creating any kind of answer. He's not creating any kind of issue. He's only throwing angry rhetoric out there to satisfy his own needs, which honestly I think he's failing himself when he does it. But on top of that, all he's doing is polarizing the argument. He's sending everyone back to their corners. The people who don't agree with you and I, Cam, owning guns, they're not now any more interested to come to the table because of what Dan and Malloy did. In fact, we probably turned off everything, and they're going to either shut out the argument altogether and not listen to what the possible solutions might be, or they're going to start to buy into his angry rhetoric. They're going to start to buy into his angry answers. And the conversation is going to go nowhere. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to the answers where we need to prevent the next tragedy from happening.
Talking again with Mark Oliver from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. And,
let the teachers be armed if they already have CCWs. Just so ridiculous. Golly, it's just so absurd. So absurd, so absurd, so absurd. Here we go again. Pre-existing trends of 2013 Connecticut gun control law. That was with Governor Malloy that he's just talking about right now with Cam and Co. Let's go to Dan Bongino breaking down Rachel Maddow and MSNBC with Bongino's stand with Bongino. He's a real patriot. I really like this guy. Good guy. He's a really good guy.
With Dan Bongino.
Hey, welcome back to We Stand with me, your host, Dan Bongino. Again, I appreciate all the positive feedback on the show. I am Twitter and Facebook's worst troll ever. I frequently troll liberals, but I do, hunt around social media for my name and liberals taking shots at me. And while trolling, I see all of your nice comments as well. So we appreciate it. Give us a follow at DBongino and at NRATV. Spread it around. Always deeply appreciated. Thank you very much. Thanks for the emails, too. Most of you know you can go to my website, bongino.com, and email me. I'll read it, I promise you. Insults, comments, whatever you got, send them my way. Hey, unbelievably good news today. You may not see a lot about it on the mainstream media coverage, but you'll see it here because it will reflect positively on President Trump, and God forbid the left-wing media ever plays a story that makes President Trump look good. That's just not their MO, folks. If it doesn't make them look bad, they're not going to do it. I saw, like CNN, I saw, was it Michelle Malkin? She calls it corrections, not news. I thought that was pretty funny, and that's typical of this left-wing media coverage. But it's not just CNN, it's NBC and CBS and ABC. I'm like, all right, well, what's the story? They'll cover it, but let's see how they cover it. The story is we just had an incredibly good, I'm not overselling this, folks, an unbelievably good job number. Incredible, unbelievable. We haven't seen numbers like this in a very long time. Consistently, at least. We've seen numbers like this, but not consistently. 313,000 jobs in the month of February. That is an extraordinary number, reminiscent of some of the...
Getting a little bit of a freeze there on Dan Bongino's breakdown. Here you go.
Where we had explosive growth. And, to be candid, some of the Clinton years as well. I don't like to play partisan hackery like the left does with us all the time. But there's a bigger, important story here, folks. One of the kind of core focuses of my show, and do I make I can see myself in the camera. Do I make funny faces once in a while? Ben was just telling me he likes it when I break the fourth wall. I can see myself, and if I was watching me, I'd be like, why is this guy always doing that thing with his eyes? I'm sorry, I had to just say that. What's going to be interesting about this, let me get to this, this is important, is going to be the liberal coverage of this event in contrast to how it's happening in the real world, because there's always hypocrisy here. These are really great numbers, folks. We suffered through 8 years of Barack Obama, 8 years of an awful economy under Obama. Now, let me throw some numbers out there for you with the Obama years you may not be familiar with because the media downplayed them under the Obama years. We measure economic growth by, wait for it, there's one of those weird faces again, growth numbers. Barack Obama is the first president in U.S. history And well, you know what? He is the first president in U.S. history. But to be fair, let's say in modern U.S. history, knowing that economic times have changed significantly, but he's the first president in modern U.S. history to never reach 3% growth rates, ever. Donald Trump is likely to hit, it depends, we'll see, because the calendar year and economic year, the way the federal government measures it, don't marry up. We'll see if that happens with Trump on the first year. But Barack Obama was a disaster for the economy. The numbers don't lie. I just told you, you may think I'm being a partisan hack, whatever. That's fine. That's your business, not mine. But I'm willing to give credit where credit is due. The Bill Clinton years were not bad. There was some relatively controlled government spending, thanks to largely to Newt Gingrich and the Republican Congress. But Clinton did sign a lot of the budgets. Those were not bad years for the economy. The Reagan years were amazing. The Obama years sucked. They were awful. We hit an average of 2% growth. He's the first president in U.S. history to not hit 3%. Trump may do it right now. This job number is incredibly important, folks. Now, there was another component of this that I haven't seen a lot of coverage on, and it's important. This is a takeaway here. Grill this one onto your
psyche. Come on, Bongino, break it down. We're having a little bit internet freezing up again. Here it comes, here it comes.
Cerebellum, your cerebrum there. The labor force participation rate is going up as well. Why is that important? Because under the Obama years, even when we had the unemployment rate go down, which it did, one of the reasons the unemployment rate was going down was not because people were getting jobs, good jobs, productive jobs, and well-paying jobs. One of the reasons the unemployment rate was going down was because people were leaving the workforce. We have this statistic called the labor force participation rate. This is a really critical number. The labor force participation rate is a percentage of people working in the country. That number was at historic lows under the Obama years, 62%, meaning about 30+% of people eligible to work weren't working. Now, the number is still high. It's about 62.7 now. I mean, it's still low, because low is bad, high is good. You want more people working. So I don't want to get ahead of myself on this. But one of the most important features of these economic numbers that came out today is 800,000 people got back in the workforce. They're working again. They're producing stuff. And it's stuff that makes us rich and wealthy. That's what makes the United States different. I'm not talking, listen, we're a very spiritual, moral country, I get it. But the bottom line when it comes to economics is stuff. Call it whatever you want. You can call it an expletive if you want. Starts with an H, S, and ends in a T. I don't care what you call it, but stuff makes us wealthy. Medicines, food, cars, entertainment, services. That's what makes us wealthy. When people work, they produce stuff. And people are pouring back into the workforce. Now, one of the more comical components of this is some in the media and some in the Democrat Party. I cannot call them the Democratic Party, I'm sorry, because there's just nothing democratic about them anymore. One of the more comical or maybe tragic components of this is the Democrats can't accept the fact that Donald Trump has ultimately been very good for the economy in his short time in office. So, hysterically, they are now trying to give credit for the Trump economy to, believe it or not, Barack Obama. Now, you know I love video in this, because video doesn't lie, right, folks? This is a video of Chuck Schumer. It's short and sweet, trying to, again, laughably credit this exploding Trump economy to Barack Obama. Play that cut.
This evening, President Trump is set to deliver his first official State of the Union address. I want to talk just for a moment about the things we expect him to say, as well as what we imagine he'll leave out. First, the White House has said the president intends to take credit for the economy. Just as he was born on third base and assumed he hit a triple, the president thinks our economic recovery is all thanks to him, when reality is that he owes a lot of it to Barack Obama. Two words I don't think we'll hear tonight on the economy. Thanks, Obama.
These pathetic bozos. Oh, my goodness, Chuck Schumer.
Hey, come again? Thanks, Obama. Thanks, Obama, for what? Thanks, Obama. Folks, numbers matter, right? We're interested here in facts and data in the real world, not bizarro Superman land, okay? When Barack Obama left office, you know what the growth rate was that he handed Donald Trump? 1.2%. That's one for liberals are having a tough time. Dot
1.2. Get him, Bongino. I like this guy. Daggone it. Okay, well, we're having a little technical difficulty with Bongino right there. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
And the kingdom of God and his citizens are kings and queens that stand with the king of kings and his kingship, that rule with the rod of iron in peace, justice, and mercy. Citizens are ours.
Now, the Rod of Iron Ministries, which is another offshoot of this church.
This is a satanic antichrist devil. These are not real Christians.
Good values. This is a cult.
We're very much opposed to it. It's disgusting.
We don't worship government. We worship God.
How many of you feel safer knowing that your teacher has a gun? All of you.
We need to turn back to God.
Not to be dependent on the government.
Revelation 3:11, let no man take thy crown. Hold fast what God hath.
Hi, I'm Joby Gorgas with Magnum Research. I'm here to tell you a little bit about our new L5 and 44 mag. This is our 5-inch model, lightweight model. It's got an aluminum grip frame, shaving down the weight so that we can get it under 50 ounces so that it's New York legal. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to properly hold the L5 for function. When shooting a Desert Eagle, you want to make sure that your dominant arm is locked out, pushing back into the back of the grip. Your secondary hand is holding around the front of the grip to keep the muzzle flip down. This gives you a good firm hold for proper cycling. We got to remember that the Desert Eagle is a gas-operated rotating bolt semi-automatic pistol, not unlike an AR system. I also want to talk to you about the stance for shooting the Desert Eagle. When shooting the Desert Eagle, you need a good firm base, so you want to step into your direction, get that arm locked, that support hand on, and lean forward into it so that you can handle that recoil.
And we are back. Let's go back to Dan Bongino of NRA TV.
Dot 1.2%. We're now seeing exploding growth, nearly doubling that in many cases, sometimes over close to 3% under Donald Trump. Barack Obama handed Donald Trump an economic train wreck. He had to clean up the mess. Now, I played that clip because, again, you know I'm fascinated by liberal hypocrisy. Matter of fact, we have another great segment coming up of our famous Liberals versus liberals debating themselves on stuff, which I love. But before we get to that, here now is Obama, when Obama took office and was handed, understandably, a pretty crap economy at the end of the Bush administration as well. But here's Obama, and listen to his comments about who takes blame / who takes credit for his terrible economy.
In this campaign, he has fallen in line behind the very same policies that have ill-served America. He has seen where George Bush has taken our country, and he promises to keep us on the very same course.
So, just so you know, again, liberal logic 101, hashtag liberal logic, right? When the economy's doing well, despite 8 years of facts and economic data showing how awful Obama was for the economy, Trump is not to be given credit, but Obama is. But when Obama campaigned, and throughout the 8 years, folks, listen, we could play this all day. Matter of fact, Denise and I were kind of joking before the show about just Google, Obama blames Bush for the economy. One of the clips I gave her didn't work. She's like, oh, don't worry, there are hundreds of them on there. There's 8 years of Obama blaming Bush for the economy. So just so we're clear, when things suck, it was Bush's fault, and you're not responsible at all, even though you're the head coach. But when you leave the team and a new head coach takes over and they unsuck, then all of a sudden you're responsible. This is, I mean, if this isn't liberal logic, I don't know what is. Just disgraceful. Just finally, please, once, libs, take credit for the garbage economy you passed off. All right. Listen, this is turning into my favorite segment, even though it's only the second one, because it's so easy. Time for another segment of liberals debating liberals. Yeah, this is great. I love pulling clips of liberals taking the opposite positions on virtually the same issues, debating themselves because they live in a vacuum of principles. Now, number one, here's our first debater of the day. It's going to be our good friend, and I use the term good friend very loosely, Rachel Maddow of MSNBC. Here is Rachel Maddow when Barack Obama agreed to the utterly disastrous Iran deal, a hostile foreign regime which prides itself on screaming death to America. We gave them a deal and a pathway to nuclear weapons. We did almost nothing to stop their development of ballistic missiles, and we shipped them pallets full of cash. Now, Rachel Maddow, who you'd think would be against tyranny and against all these dealings with hostile foreign actors, I'm sure she came out against this. Not so much. Play that cut.
The Republican reaction to the announcement of this framework and the president's remarks about it today is basically exactly what you would expect. 6 years into his presidency, though, we know that that's how they would react, even if what he was announcing was that he had personally cured cancer. They would then be against that cure. The international reaction thus far is basically elation that this vexatious issue that has been such a nightmare for so many countries on earth, imagining Iran with a deployable nuclear weapon, there has been elation today that that prospect might have been averted, not with a war, but with the radical idea of talking it through.
Okay, so thank you to Rachel Maddow, who's now going to debate herself in her, her starring appearance in our Liberals versus Liberals debate. So Maddow's making a point here. We're all watching her debate, and she's setting up the premise that, listen, this isn't so bad. We're working with Iran. It would be awful if they got a nuclear weapon, and you crazy Republicans going after Barack Obama for shipping pallets of cash and signing a pathway to nuclear weapons deal. You're all nuts. This is just peachy, this Iran deal. How dare you criticize Barack Obama? Now, our second entrant into the Liberals versus Liberal debate is Rachel Maddow again. Last night, talking about the North Korean deal that hasn't even happened yet. Play that one.
You might imagine another president in this circumstance. Kim Jong-un makes a request. Do you want to meet? You might think like another president in this circumstance. You could imagine a president asking himself or herself, why has no other American president ever agreed to do this? Why has no sitting American president ever met with a leader from North Korea? Why has that never happened in all the decades North Korea has existed as a nation? Why hasn't any other president ever done? Should I take that to mean that this might be a particularly risky or even an unwise move? See, I think that's how most presidents would approach the idea of a personal presidential meeting with the North Korean dictator. I think a lot of people probably suspect tonight that those are not the kinds of questions that this president asked himself before agreeing to this meeting.
Do I have to say anything? So there's Rachel Maddow, again, debating Rachel Maddow. The Iran deal, genius. And you Republicans are crazy for calling him out on it. The Iran
talking
deal,
it through.
You know, remember the Death to America crowd? Yeah, those guys, right? That was great. Send them cash, sign a deal, putting them on a pathway to nuclear weapons. We can't even inspect their military facilities. That was great. That was wonderful. That was the hallmark of epic foreign diplomacy. But deal number two, that hasn't even happened. There's not even a deal with the North Koreans. There's just a proposal for talks with the North Koreans. By the way, equally dangerous. And all of a sudden, she changes her mind. And I love the snark, by the way. By the way, she's totally stealing my shtick, looking away from the camera. She's like, oh, why has nobody done this? Why is nobody? You totally stole that from me, okay? You may have a few more viewers than we do, just a couple. But still, yeah, give credit where credit is due. That was my thing. She plays snarky about it, too. So, why would we meet with the North Koreans? Gee, I don't know. Why would we give the Iranians pallets full of cash and a pathway to nuclear weapons? Why would we allow the Iranians to operate unfettered in military facilities? Military facilities. Let me ask you a question. You think military facilities might be where the Iranians would develop a nuclear weapon? I don't know. No, they're going to develop it in a library. Of course, that's where it's going to happen. Oh, man.
He is fantastic, Bongino.
And other things. Let's bring in my good buddy, good friend, Grant Stinchfield. Grant, how you doing today, Daddy-O?
I'm doing great, Dan.
What'd you think about that? Did you see Rachel Maddow debating herself? Does this ever get tiresome, watching liberals debating themselves?
You know, the only thing
so easy with them.
The only thing I'm upset about over the liberals versus liberals debating is that I didn't come up with that idea. That's a great idea. It works.
Dude, you know, I got a lot of good feedback on Twitter. I retweeted one woman. She's like, yeah, that is good. But it's so easy, Grant. You know, feel free to steal it on your show because there's so much content out there. You name the topic, just name it. And there is literally the same people debating themselves on the issue. I had one classic one that was great. It was Obama about the stimulus. Debating himself on the stimulus, about the shovel-ready jobs, how it was going to save America. And then Obama going on, well, you know, those jobs weren't so shovel-ready, which everybody told them when he said they were shovel-ready jobs. But you can't argue with liberals. They know everything. They're the smartest people in the room, Grant. Just ask them, you know.
They're your superiors.
Let me get your thoughts on this. So there's a really troubling story down here in Florida, you know, of course, about the horrific Parkland tragedy down here. And a couple of SWAT officers who did not work specifically for the sheriff who had jurisdiction over the incident responded.
I thought you didn't want to talk about this story.
Now because they
I thought you didn't want to talk about this story. I was going to bring this up to you yesterday. You said I don't want to talk about it.
Denise, can you tell him you're in the studio that you said I need to talk about it? Because I didn't, because this is one of those stories where I feel like if I can't add something significant of value, I'm hesitant. But Denise was like, you know what, we should talk about it. And the reason I wanted to bring it up today, to give Denise a pass, because she is great and she does a terrific job, is we have a really kind of scary situation going on in California right now, too. A hostage situation out there. And listen, the world has changed since post-Columbine. I mean, the idea now, you have to know the difference immediately, Grant, between what's an active shooter situation and a hostage scenario. And it's clear with these SWAT guys that, you know, they had a patriot spirit in their heart, went up there to respond, and now they're being punished for it. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is the local police department. They had their SWAT officers, right? And they were told, hey, stand by, wait till the Broward County Sheriff's Office call you. And two guys said, you know what, we're going. We're not standing by, we're not standing down, we're rushing to the scene. And they get suspended, literally suspended. I get that if you're in law enforcement or the military, there is a command structure, right? And you have to know what people are doing, and you've got to take your orders, whether they're right or wrong, you've got to do that. But in this case, these are pros. They're SWAT officers. They're not going to get in the way of anybody. They're going to show up. If it's an active shooter situation, you want more bodies on scene. Let the Broward County Sheriff's Office direct them. They weren't going to hurt anybody. They're not going to get in the way of people. These are SWAT officers, for crying out loud. Did they tell the responding firefighters who ran through tunnels, through the Battery Tunnel, to get to the towers, to stand down? We don't know where you are. There's no accountability? No.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know what? That's a great point. Matter of fact, makes me think of Craig Miller, a tech with the Secret Service who died that day. He wasn't in a uniform. He wasn't an agent, but he was a master special officer with us. And he had some paramedic army training. No one knows what happened to him on 9/11, but they guess from final reports of the last people who saw him was that he was rendering aid on the plaza when one of the buildings came down. No, he didn't ask for permission. Right. He had that servant's heart. Don't you think, too, Grant, these are the kind of stories that drive people like you and I and the patriots watching this channel nuts? We're like, really? Seriously, like these two guys, this is where you want to go with this.
You know, look, if you want to bring them into the office and say, hey, guys, we told you to stand down. You can't be running off on your own. Fine, next time, please, just call. You know, just follow orders. Sure. But you don't suspend them. And then now it becomes a national news story. You look at everything going on with the lack of leadership in Broward County at all levels, okay? Now you see leaders that were telling the SWAT team to stand down. They look like fools in all of this. This is another one of these stories that goes to show you. I'm not even convinced the people of Broward County are safe under the leadership of the sheriff. And then they end up suspending SWAT officers. That boggles the mind.
Yeah, no, you know, it doesn't.
Incredible. There we go, folks. That is it for that interview. Go follow them and check out Dan Bongino on NRA TV. He's a true patriot. Love them on NRA TV, but it's particularly like his show. He's down there, he's nitty gritty, and he knows how to speak it, speak truth. And he's tremendous. He's a tremendous TV show host, and we're happy that he's on NRA TV. They're getting together a whole group of tremendous speakers that are able to promote the Rod of Iron. Anyways, folks, it is a crazy day like every day, but stay true to God. Get out there today before it starts snowing tonight, or even when it's snowing tonight. Go out there, enjoy God's good green earth, his incredible creation. You know, it's important for us to take break from all this insanity sometimes and go out and experience God's creation in the real world. Get out there with your kids, get out on a hike with your wife, have a lunch outside, do something beautiful like that. Give him all the praise today. Remember all the blessings that he is bestowing upon us and how incredible things are moving at such breakneck speed. We are saluting you this day. Thank you for joining us on the King's Report. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp on the King's Report. God bless, Godspeed, and may his kingdom come.
Just another summer night, had to be the last thing on my mind. Yeah, I was all but lost in the moment. I was young and running wide open. It was just another summer night, had to be the last thing on my mind. When love